to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so this is our first meeting after town meeting. Congratulations to our vote winners here.
It's you and me.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back again.
We're
Thank
vibrating.
you very much. It's like nothing changed.
Oh, so this is the time where we make a motion. I'll make a motion to nominate Joe as chairman of the Board of Selectmen for the upcoming year.
Second.
I'll make a motion that we nominate John for chairman of the Board of Selectmen for the upcoming year.
I don't think we can have two motions on the
We can
floor
have
at the same time,
nominations.
can we?
We can have nominations.
We could have nominations, but we had to have a
I made a
motion.
motion.
There is a motion on the floor. Vote it down or no. I mean, I'm not trying to stifle any kind of discussion, but it is what it is.
Well, you can accept or not accept if you
I
want.
just think it's nice that we rotate through so everybody has a chance. You've never been chair, have you?
Me, no.
John was just getting a grip on it, though. He only had 1 year.
Well,
So I guess we're in discussion now.
Discussion.
I just
We're
think
in-
it's nice that everybody has a turn.
It is.
So discussion.
I think John does a good job. I mean, I would do the job if I was voted to do it. But I think you do a great job of being the chairman of the board, John, and I would support that equally as well. So, whatever, however the vote shakes out.
Okay.
Motion on the floor that hasn't been seconded.
Oh, no,
Peter
he
seconded.
seconded it right quick.
Nobody's here. Oh,
My discussion, I'd like to do it one more year. I don't think, because it's the last year of my term. So it's up to owners.
Well, this is awkward. I call the question.
Okay.
We can move on from this one way or the other.
Okay. All those in favor say
We
aye.
should have
Aye.
nominations instead of motions.
Opposed? Or say nay, I'd
Nay.
like to do it.
I voted nay.
Just one more.
I want to have one more conversation. We'd still have to vote. Right?
Yes.
All right, I would nominate you for chairman of the board. We'll see how this shakes out.
Second.
Right here, right now.
So is that a motion?
It was.
Okay.
It was.
And a second. Although, any more discussion? Or if there's anybody else that's going to want. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I'm gonna say no, because I think we should shake it up.
So next year is coming.
Shake it up, shake it up, shake it
Okay,
Yeah, ayes have it.
so moved, and thank you.
Thank you for your faith.
I didn't.
up. Make a motion that we,
He hasn't played the motion, I just heard 3 minutes.
All those opposed? And Catherine said no, because she would like to.
I think it needs
Change
to just
up.
be checked. I don't think it's,
Peter.
I think it's everybody should have a turn. I just do.
Present.
So it's,
make a motion that we appoint Joe as vice chair.
Second.
Any discussion?
I could be the chair of vice.
All those, all those in favor say aye.
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 I'll vote for that.
Opposed?
Thanks, Joe.
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is we have Dory's up, town planner update.
Good evening. First, I think so, the driveway permit application and associated documents, plans. So this is
Thank you.
for Bitter Lane. DOT is requiring an updated driveway permit because of the expanded use that's likely to result, or that will result from the expansion of the tractor.
Now, just to make it clear, this is actually for the entrance to Bittern Lane.
This is where Bitter Lane meets. Route
Right, but this
38.
application, it's confusing because they use a driveway application for any town road that connects to a highway. So just so the public knows, it's not an actual driveway, it is a town road. It's not their driveway onto Bitter Lane, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Have they gotten a permit for their driveway onto Bitter Lane? Or have they received?
Wouldn't you have done it at planning board?
No,
No.
we delegated that to Dari to do, the town planner.
I think that there might be, I'm trying to think, I think at the time that they paved back there, we would, or before they paved back there, yeah, we're gonna need a updated.
Well, even if they don't pave it, I would have to imagine that,
True, I don't, but they will pay, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it definitely needs to be updated because it's a different property owner.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't require an update in itself. But it does need to be updated because of the.
Well, if they don't have a permit, use that driveway, and I really don't know the answer, how does that work?
Just like other land use approvals, an approved driveway permit would run with the land.
Okay,
But when where there has been a significant expansion of use there. However, I will have to say that I do believe Dennis issued a driveway permit for Paula, and if that was for the athletic center, then you can make an argument that that more than covers the amount of traffic that would be going in and out.
Yeah.
But I guess I would say no
Alright.
harm in what
Yeah.
we're
But the
doing.
difference
He would-
between the two is you're talking passenger cars versus tractor trailers.
Tonnage,
moving
there's gonna
equipment
be
in and out.
tonnage coming.
I don't see any issue with requiring an
Yeah.
updated driveway permit.
no, it made perfect sense what
Yeah.
you said,
Mr.
that it
Chair.
would stay with the land.
Point of order here. We have a department head that has a presentation that he's asking to deliver to the Board of Selectmen. And so far, he's been bombarded by the Board of Selectmen with questions, and he hasn't been able to give us this presentation. Could we
Well, I want-
please ask him to give us this presentation
I want a
first?
clarification on if
I
you're actually
get that,
doing a
but can-
driveway permit or a road.
Is he going to have questions and answers after? Questions
So-
for us after?
So,
Okay.
so
I want to hear what he has to say first.
So
I'd be
presently,
rather than
we're discussing the application for the driveway permit, which is filed by the town on behalf of MB Tractor. And we'll work on that. If there's anything that would cause conflict with that,
It's
with
not
the...
filed on behalf of MD Tractor. It's filed on
Yeah,
behalf
Tilton.
of the town because it's a
Yes.
town-owned road. We're filing it because MD Tractor.
Okay, so because of
is increasing traffic on the
MB
road.
Tractor, and MB Tractor has done the engineering, right, for this, or it's... Could you go on and explain what we have in front of us?
Yeah, I mean, I thank you. I must say, I see it as a fairly simple matter. This is something that we looked at, in the past as well under different use, but I mean, they've obviously invested the time and money to develop these well-engineered plans. I did send this packet that you have before you to David Sylvia at District 3, just to make sure that, this is indeed sort of coincided with the conversations that MB's engineers have been having with District 3, and he said, yeah, that looks great, that's exactly what we need. So I do feel, confident in the sort of acceptability of this by DOT. It's really a matter of, does this board see any issues? I think, if you look at the notice of decision from the planning board, it basically, states that the updated driveway permit is necessary. Comparing this to the last project where there was a need for streetlights and sidewalks, I don't envision the necessity of that in this case.
So we can bring it up for discussion. I'm going to make the motion that we accept the driveway permit is submitted.
I'll second that motion.
We don't have one submitted yet.
Isn't that what this is?
Well, we haven't filled it out or anything, so I think we're accepting
So, I
This
have
piece of
changes.
paper.
a motion and second discussion. And Catherine,
I just think we have to be careful how we talk about this, because it's not a driveway. Public Works Director, you had an opportunity to look at the road, and it's nothing we need to have them improve, culverts, anything, road service, everything is good.
The improvements that they're proposing will make it even better than it is now.
Well, the entrance, yes, but the rest of the
The
road,
rest of the road is solid.
perfect. Dari, am I looking at this right, that they're
It was
expanding?
never surfaced, it was only the base course on the back
They're
half.
expanding the opening, are they not?
There's no cracks, there's.
Yeah, right, to,
Are they,
Four people
Hang on.
talking now.
so Catherine, if you
I
could
wasn't done, I'm sorry.
finish.
Are they, I couldn't tell from this print, the previous one we had for the other project was a little clearer. Are they doing that kind of half, not a real turning lane?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's just opening up the turning radius.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so
to
you
make.
technically could have a car over in that area?
No, you'd be.
Terry, can you answer that?
C1,
I'm not
Catherine.
sure what the question is, over in what area?
So if the previous, and I'm sorry, like I said, this isn't as clear as the other one. The previous blueprint or print we had for this radius, DOT, there wasn't enough width to make a turn, another turn lane, but they had to move it over far enough, so you could, if you wanted to, use it as a turn lane? Is that what they're doing here? No?
No, they're basically
just
making it
widening them
easier
out?
for the tail end of the trailer to make the corner coming in.
Well, I'm good with it, thank you. I just wanted to understand what they were doing.
Currently, the tractor trailers have to take part of the oncoming traffic. Right. Now they're just-
Very nice.
I think it might be able to answer that if you look at sheet number C1,
I
and you see
did.
a shaded area, and it says remove and reconstruct concrete sidewalk, reconstruct pavement section, so it looks like they cut, is that correct?
Yeah.
C1, so they actually did cut the radius down a little bit.
Open it up, however you want to put it, yeah, right.
So they can do it.
Yeah.
Usually when they show the remove, they then show you where they're gonna replace it, so this one doesn't, it's, everything's all on the same page, but thank you, you've made it clear, Darrell.
Pat?
Kevin.
I'm confused about one thing. Is this or is this not an application for driveway permit for us?
That is the technical name of.
It's filled out here, so, and it says Town of Tilton on the bottom.
Yeah,
Are we making a motion to accept this so that you can submit this to DOT?
We have
I
the
think
motion
that's-
and a second.
That's the,
All right, I was confused by Catherine's statement. So yes, we are making a motion to accept this for you to submit to DOT.
Once
Yeah.
completed.
Thank you.
I don't see,
Thank you.
there is some complication with the language. This is an awkward situation where the town is acting as a go-between, but yeah, for all intents and purposes.
So, I don't like that, we're not acting as a go-between, the Board of
Okay.
Selectmen are in control of the town road. Because New Hampshire DOT chooses to use their driveway permit to get this done, just makes it complicated. But this document should be signed by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, because it is a town road to a state road that we're changing. There's no part of a driveway involved in this
Even though it
process that we're
says
doing
drive.
right now. They just choose to use this form to get this done.
I'll call the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm not clear what the motion is.
To accept this
Could
application.
Gil, could you repeat the motion as you repeat?
Motion to accept the driveway permit.
Accept that document as
And
Which
finish
is-
completing it.
This document right.
Application for driveway permit.
Yes, no?
I'm gonna say yes, because I want the project to move forward, but I really don't like
That's
the
not done.
language in the
Fill out some
motion.
stuff is all.
Once it's, so.
Filled out, yeah, fill it
it's
out.
Filled out. So the next thing would be, is I'm gonna make a motion allowing myself as the chairman to complete the rest of the form with the signature, mailing address.
Second, that's absolutely good.
Any more discussion?
That's a good one.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. All set.
All right, so we'll get that submitted. That'll be good news. Let's see, other than that, I just, we have been we've been meeting with folks from Belknap County Economic Development and in turn CDFA, and talking about CDBG funding source, and kind of thinking about a possible feasibility study that might benefit the community. And on Saturday morning, I was over in the San Bonnie Press building with a realtor and a potential investor, kind of talking about the 70/90 benefit that we now have. And I mentioned to them the possibility that we could conduct a feasibility study to look at some of those buildings on that corner, like the laundromat building, the San Bonnie Press building, maybe the building in front of it, and perhaps the building that adjoins that red building in front of it. So I just wanted to share that idea with the board. I'd like to go ahead and contact CDFA, run the idea by them. I'll just kind of back up a little bit. A feasibility study has to look at something that might lead to implementation grants in the future, and we feel very strongly that that cluster of buildings could certainly fit that. So,
Excuse me, Dory, I know I'm just dragging this out, but I missed where you said the feasibility of what specifically?
I didn't
A
say.
feasibility study, well, what does that mean precisely?
So you can study potential feasible uses for an
Oh, okay,
area
all
or
right.
parcel.
Just what could that land be used for?
Or, yeah, those
Right.
buildings, I think a lot of people have really good ideas on how that San Bonnie Press
Yeah.
building could be used. It'd be good to put some expert, research behind that and make sure all those good ideas would actually fly in the real world. We feel that by the town putting an application in, gaining that funding to do a feasibility study would be a really good, way that the town can play its part in the development and revitalization of Main Street.
And grants cover this study.
Grant would cover the study, and again, the study should open the town up to implementation grants that could be applied for to improve those buildings, like a facade grant, for example. The laundromat, I'm sure the owner of that would love to have a facade grant to improve the front. It's not that there's anything wrong with it now, I'm not saying that, but improvement is always beneficial. So again, I'm just seeking permission to go forward with that. If conversations with CDFA go well, and they say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, one of the first things we need to do is pull together a public hearing. There has to be a public hearing held before the submission of the application. The application is due April 30th. So I think that's why I kind of wanted to bring it up today. We need to get going on it if we want to do that.
Do you need a motion from us? Or just a consensus?
I'll take whatever you give me, a thumbs up is all I'm looking for.
Let the record show there was, you can vote with one thumb
Oh,
only.
come on.
So,
It's
Peter,
a
you
great
all set with
idea.
that?
All right,
So
good.
we have
Great
5.
5 tons.
Yeah. And has anyone ever been in that building?
I have, I went through that building, I was
That's
looking
not
at
I used to
buying
pick
the
up
building at
deliveries
one
from
point.
Oh, okay.
back
Done
into the
business there.
Yeah, it's pretty
Beautiful.
neat. So I think that some cool things could definitely happen in there. It'd be really nice coming into our Main Street from 93 to have, some exciting uses in there. And then just lastly, I just want to give a quick update, the 10-year plan applications that we submitted. We've gotten some relatively positive feedback from Lakes Region Planning Commission following discussions that they've had with DOT. I think what they're looking at most closely right now is the Main Street portion, which I think is really exciting, given all the local enthusiasm that there is on Main Street. So I don't really have much more than that, sort of waiting for future updates on that. Same with the public-private partnership application for the regional commercial district. But I just wanted to give you a little update on that. I think from what I've heard, those applications have, been sort of received favorably. I can't say there's any money definitely coming yet.
Yay?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it is good stuff. So, yeah, that's all I got.
I just wanted to add one thing, and we have been having conversations with the stakeholders about that bridge between, I guess, is it Staples and the, that connects to.
Exxon?
Tilton Diner Plaza
Yes.
place.
And there's some definite interest in getting that addressed. So we're working on putting together a meeting of those stakeholders to see how to move forward and what they're willing to, kind of pony up, get that done.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that would be huge.
And I think that if it's impressed also on them, my thoughts are that it was part of their site plan, and that's the only, they had to have 2 routes to get in and out of there, and that they can come up with something.
And I told you I'd follow up on that, and I did. We spoke with the owner of, I think it was, I think it was the gentleman's Dunkin' Donuts, and he did say he did not think that was part of the site.
But he
plan.
wasn't
He
part
owned
of
it,
the
but-
service station, right?
And the first,
No, he wasn't.
and that all went along
Service
with,
station came
and
first.
at that point, they applied to get a driveway through to 140, and then that got denied because of the length of where it would be located in the wetlands. So they had agreed the only way that would get permit to do all that build out in there was to maintain that bridge that Pike had for emergency uses only, and they were going to put a bailin out there so that the fire departments could get in and out or emergency traffic.
All right.
Are your conversations to have it as a public way or just as an emergency egress?
But I think, so private way, but for public use, just to be,
So a pass-through road for
that anyone can use.
that plaza
Yeah.
to the other one without having to go
No
in
limitation or other than maybe
That's-
6,000 pounds or whatever.
That would be
you know,
awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
definitely, yeah.
Get some traffic to the lights.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, we have, let's take Lowe's, where you come out of Lowe's, trying to orient that future development to come at that light, Taco Bell, wherever possible, these existing, a lot of towns don't have lights, you go to bad things depending on how you see it, but if you got them, use them, maximize the benefit of them.
Anybody else?
All right,
No,
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate
Okay.
it.
Sorry.
thanks.
Okay, the next thing we have are, on the agenda is the bid awards. I think everybody got some emails with copies of comparable prices. Take a look. Okay, and it's also in the folder. Thanks, Gail. So why don't we start with Main Street sidewalk project, summer 2019. Yeah, if you want to come.
Hello.
Hi. What do you think?
Talking about the sidewalk project first?
Yeah, the Main Street.
Yes. Well, I'm going to make it simple. I'd like to have R&D do both.
I asked
know that-
why.
Because they were the only ones willing to work with me. let me rephrase. They were the only ones calling, asking questions, doing a ride-along, taking measurements with me, going through the parameters of each project in depth. That showed me that not only are they interested in doing the work, but when all is said and done, they're also going to be there to support it if something were to fail.
Well, here's your difference, though.
Shoot.
GMI is soup to nuts. They produce the aggregate, they produce the asphalt, they lay it.
Yep.
So if there's a problem, it's not pointing fingers. R&D
I
is
didn't-
going to be FOB, so they're most likely buying off a Pike. Then
That's
if the road
possible.
breaks down, it's the finger pointing. Oh, it's bad mix. No, it's bad laydown. Both
didn't know-
R&D and GMI are Pike offspring. Richard and David Dubriel were working
Okay.
with Pike when I was. Greg Miner from GMI was before me and left after about my first year.
Okay. I didn't hear anything from GMI or Porter Paving. The only person that I was in contact with was the salesman for R&D. For me, I guess I'm old school, that holds a lot of weight, because not only are they willing to come and talk to me before the project, they're also going to be approachable at the end of the project, during the project, and if something were to fail. That, to me, is worth the $3,000 or less, the difference in each project.
Except for me, having done estimating for Pike, if I give you the bid and I'm the lowest qualified and you go with a higher, next time around, am I going to bid? Probably not. I don't know. To me, it's
Okay.
all fair and square. Who has the sharpest pencil? It's
Oh.
taxpayer dollars, not mine.
Okay,
To me, it's the
I can-
lowest
I can-
qualified bidder.
I can appreciate that point of view.
Anybody else have any more questions on it?
Well, I do.
Go ahead.
So I see in the documents that we asked for three things: the start date availability, 3 references, and proof of insurance. We only got one of the bidders. Only provided us a bid. Did anybody provide us with the start date availability? None of them did that. Unless our packets aren't complete. Did R&D give you that start date? Were they willing to work within our parameters of July 4th and August 1st?
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Catherine, all you do is tell them they've got the bid conditional upon working between these dates.
Well, I just, so in my business, I look at the completeness of the application
Yeah,
pertaining to the information that I've asked for. I am not familiar with 2 of these contractors' work.
Well, Porter's probably been in business the longest. They've generally been smaller scale. GMI came out in like the late 90s. R&D was probably late 90s, early 2000s.
Early 90s.
You are?
I'm Jerry Dubriel.
So
Because
Well, they've
where
all
does
been-
it say here that where does it say the time frame, Catherine, on the,
The request for proposal on the second page down the bottom, it says bidders must provide the following: start
Yeah.
date availability.
no later than May 15th?
It says start date
After
availability in
July 4th.
parentheses after July 1st, but 4th, and before August 1st. Then it says 3 references, phone numbers and
My
addresses,
sheet
and
says after no
proof
later
of
than
insurance.
May 15th.
Cedar Street. Are you looking at Cedar Street?
Yeah.
Or if you're looking at Main Street?
I mean, it's no big thing, it was just, I was curious if any of them had committed to the dates,
Okay.
start dates.
After, okay.
In conversation or in writing.
All right, so,
Well,
I have a question,
I
Mr.
could-
Chairman.
Go ahead, Pat.
okay.
Wasn't it R&D that did the project on Ridge Road,
Yes.
Westwood, off of Lancaster Hill?
Mhm.
Wasn't there an issue with Ridge Road once we got there, and there was a time frame, a delay in the project, a huge delay in the project?
It wasn't R&D's issue, I think it was a drainage type issue, and we opted to do binder in
Well,
the
there was-
fall and the surf, the wearing.
After
course
that
the
got,
next year.
after that got fixed, we tried to contact them and contact them and contact them, and it wasn't, and then we were forced to push it out to a wear coat next year.
You know, I don't remember. I remember mostly the drainage snafu.
Because he had another project going on at the same time as Ridge Road. I don't know,
I'm not familiar with it.
but Tim has an answer.
Well, I just recall them being very accommodating during the process and seeing to it that, from my recollection, that they met our timeframes and that they, they really worked with us to, address the issues
Okay.
of that drainage. And from my recollection, that second coat was something that, in the spring had been planned to do as
For a road, aren't you gonna
Okay.
want the
Could've
top
been
coat
the
to be
Public
done?
Works Director, okay.
Didn't we have to redo the drainage?
Yeah, we had to do a loader, and
It was,
there's a huge sinkhole underneath.
I'm just remembering
remember
the
that.
project. It
Yeah.
seemed to be a nightmare.
because I was involved with driving
I'm
the
trying to
truck.
forget.
Right.
That was a last minute discovery of
Right,
it being a sinkhole,
right,
and all hands on deck,
right.
so that we could work with R&D to get it done that day.
In fact, I think it took more material, and they covered it under their contract. It took quite a bit more material, because I think there was, I don't remember exactly the width, but it turned out to be wider because of that.
And that was R&D?
Yeah.
Okay. He answered my
Oh.
question.
Kind of like that.
I'm going to make a motion that we accept the R&D, and I'm going to provide that they can do it in the availability between July 4th and August 1st.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I'm looking out for the taxpayers, lowest responsible bidder. All three bidders were responsible.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No. Or aye.
Okay, so we have 3, 4, and
3 to 2.
3 to 2.
2 opposed to the motion. That's Main Street sidewalk.
You will check with them on that date?
Sure.
As soon as possible, because if they can't meet it, we'll have to choose another one.
Does it involve this?
I have a question.
Sure, yeah.
Will this conflict with the 150th celebration, the sidewalks on Main Street?
No.
No.
The timeframe for the sidewalk was built around the festivities.
I think it's written
And
in
not
small
only
print to
that-
check with Cindy Reinhardt's on it. I think.
Nobody called.
Cindy, it benefits it because if we tear up the sidewalk, it will look like it did 150 years ago and be dusty and dirty.
There you go.
So it fits in quite well. We'll have to bring some manure
Catherine's gonna
down
bring our
too.
horses down.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing we have here is the Cedar Street project for spring of 2019. So that's one that we're going to discuss next. I guess we'll ask, it's okay, we'll ask for, all to speak on that, on his dealings with it, or?
It's basically the same thing. R&D was the only one that was willing to talk with me, meet with me, take measurements, go through the, what was gonna be required of them. And to be honest with you, since I am new to the position, and even after all the research that I had done, their salesman was forthcoming with stuff that could have been bad in hindsight, had I not had the information to put down on my RFP. That holds a lot of weight with me, because he could have just let me do my thing and dealt with it afterwards to save money, and he didn't. He was forthcoming with a lot of information, and he was the only one that was willing to sit with me. I didn't hear from GMI, I didn't hear from Porter, or any of the other contractors. He was in my office having conversations with me. Like I said, that holds a lot of weight with me. And I know that when all is said and done, when they do the project, even though they're a few $1,000s more than the lowest bidder, that's going to be a quality job that I can sleep at night knowing that it's been done well and I don't have to worry about it. And if there is a problem, I don't have any problem calling them up and saying, let's get to the bottom of it, let's fix it. I don't have that.
You'll have the argue over the mix versus the laydown.
And that's fine. I told the salesman that I was prepared to take core samples and to do my homework when everything is done, and to be right there so that they don't cut corners or so forth. And he reassured me that I wouldn't have to do that, but they would be welcoming of me being there doing my job. So.
But on the counter,
Yes.
on
3,000.
GMI, on Porter, I look at this.
Yeah.
I do a quick ride. I've seen it. I got it. I know what my crew does. I submit my bid. Doesn't matter who I talk to. It's who's the
Okay.
most qualified and who gave me the lowest responsible bid.
Okay.
I work. It's the best way to piss off contractors. Oh, you went with a higher bid. When I was with Mike working in Maine estimating, we knew the town's contractors that were using me for a number, so we put no effort in. We just highballed. You lose the competitiveness. That's why we do
So.
lowest responsible.
So just because GMI has the abilities to produce their own
If it
material,
falls, if
they
it falls
should-
apart,
they can.
all GMI.
So
They
Pike
have the aggregate. They have the.
Pike is a reputable company.
I understand.
They're going to
but
stand behind their product as well as.
Depends. Are you testing the mix at the plant?
Let's do it. I'm not
That's
against
not in the
it.
contract.
I don't want to get into it being a debate, so let's make sure everybody gets recognized before we do it, because everybody can make some statements. We're going to have Joe, as a selectman, make a quick statement.
My personal statement is I voted with Peter last time. I'm for the low bidders and whatnot, but I also understand the value of the only person who shows interest getting the bid. Seems like the others didn't want it enough to come down and walk around with it, and if R&D did, I would support that.
And
I-
Pat, I'm going to recognize Pat.
The road, this request for proposal, who's doing all of the drainage and the extensive drainage that you're going to do on the Cedar Street and?
That's another contractor.
It's another,
Yeah,
you're
we're-
putting another bid out for that?
Yes, exactly.
So you have to coordinate the two
Yes.
to do this,
Yes.
and that bid's not been put out yet?
Not yet, no.
So you're asking that this project this will be a three-part project beginning in May of 2013,
Excuse me?
right? It says Peter Street upgrade project. It says this will be a three-part project beginning in May of 2013. Each part,
13.
19.
19.
2019.
Yes.
May of 2019, but you haven't gone out to the basic culverts and drainage and all that. You haven't.
Which will be
even-
done after they reclaim, they do a total reclamation.
So you're gonna do the road over and then you're gonna do the culverts and
No.
drainage?
No, it's going to be completely exposed for the entire summer.
The
They're gonna come-
road,
they're gonna come-
Cedar Street's gonna be completely exposed for the entire summer.
That's exactly right.
Who's
It's gonna be dust control with water. We're gonna allow the water department and the sewer department to come in and make their upgrades. And then we're gonna do a binder in the fall.
Good luck.
Have we had this conversation?
Yes, we did.
We did not say that it was open,
We did.
Yes.
open, exposed all the way. Excuse me, I might not have been here at that meeting.
I don't believe you were, no.
No.
Okay.
You weren't.
All right, I did not hear that, or I would have said something. I know I would have said something. Because do you know how many cars go down on Cedar
Yes.
Street every single day?
It's
The
an
entire
expensive
road is gonna
project.
be
It
open.
is an extensive
It's gonna be-
project.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's gonna need to be open for a while.
It's a rebuild.
Water's not gonna do it. You may wanna look at calcium chloride. If you're gonna water, you get a 90-degree day, you're gonna be out there multiple times.
All right, so now you're going to keep this road open.
Mhm.
And so when do you expect to have the reclaim and all of that come in? You know, we're making a
So you're looking for a little bit of a timeline on how it would all
Yeah.
So
work.
you're reclaiming prior to ditching.
So,
Yes, yes.
So we reclaim, then we disturb all the layers when we ditch, especially if we're running cross trenches,
Sure.
as opposed to doing the ditching first. When you come back and reclaim after, you can better mix. I think you're gonna have more, you have possible
Part of the
issues
RFP
with
was to come in,
differential soils when you dig out after is all.
I understand, but part of the RFP is to come in, do a final grade in compact with water, put your binder down.
But that
So
doesn't, yeah, but.
all of that disturbance should be null and void because they're gonna compact with water and final
If
grade.
I dig out a 6-foot hole, I've got to put stuff back.
Sure.
It's not going to be the same as, oh, that's all, so. Watch.
If they
watch
do
when
the
you
trench
cross,
correctly-
It's going to settle.
If they do the trenching correctly, there shouldn't be any transition. If they
how
do
are you
their,
gonna maintain it for travel?
The dirt road.
it's gonna, after they reclaim, they're gonna do a final grade for safe travel and compact with water or calcium chloride, whichever
So
we
when
decide
you
to do.
say open all summer, you mean it's gonna be a dirt road all summer? It's
Yes.
not gonna be open with trenches?
No, no, it's gonna be dirt road.
Oh, you're going to
Now I
have
see-
trenches
now
during
I
the
see
day
why
when
you
they
were-
do that work and then closed over at night or steel plate put over.
Yes.
Terminology.
Catherine?
If we're going to leave it open for a couple of months, it may
Mhm.
need regrading.
So I get
That's
back
true.
to my other question then. If we're making a decision on the reclamation, the grade, the compacting and things like that now, but he's really not going to do that this year.
Sure he is. That was already decided on. We're just trying to find the contractor now to do the paving project.
And when is that bid gonna go out?
This is what we're talking about now.
The drainage and all of that, when does that bid go out?
Within a couple of weeks. I know I have mud season to go through, so I have some time, considering that the road is gonna be open for 3 months.
Okay, I'm gonna stay at Catherine's for a
I've-
couple months.
So I was
Or
informed,
Gales.
that bad.
I believe it's on Linden Avenue, those houses,
The drainage is right
the
in
way
front
they
of
were
Maple Court.
constructed,
Okay.
drainage system for those houses connect to the storm drains. So we'll have to do some sort of accommodation for that. And I have no clue whether DES allows that kind of drainage directly into bodies of water. But we can't have them something onto the neighbor's property because it's all gonna end up in the road or, you see what I mean? There's a problem there. So you need to
Probably
be
have to
aware
set
of
up
it.
some silt fences.
Well, either we connect those drains back into the storm system
Mhm.
or come up with another plan.
The only drains that we'll be dealing with are additional drains on Cedar Street to handle the
Okay,
water. The existing drains on Linden, on the other side, on Pine Street, we won't be touching.
so there won't be an issue.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Shoot.
That specifically Linden Avenue
Okay.
has been built
Okay.
up and
Yeah.
repaved and repaved, and at one point it was like much lower than it is now. So if you reclaim it down to where it was,
Mhm.
you don't build it back up to the level that it is now. You do it right from the level that it should originally be, right?
I don't follow you.
removed.
No, and I understand that, but all their driveways are at the level where
Yes.
the road is now. If the level of the
And-
road goes down significantly, just wondering how that transition
There,
works.
in the RFP, the contractor knows that their finished grade is gonna be level with existing driveways.
Okay, all right.
And the reclaim, extra will be hauled away, but what's needed to accommodate my inch or my inch and a half and 2-inch asphalt to match existing driveway, they'll adjust. So they'll know what they have to have for a base.
Transition will be good.
Exactly.
And I think it's important
Yes.
to, of course, the residents.
And there'll be signage to inform the residents of when the project will start. So, yeah, we'll
Okay.
have all that covered.
Just thought I'd throw that
Are they
out
gonna have
there.
any
So we had,
public hearing for the residents of these streets?
and that's what you said there was, there'll be a public hearing. Was that?
Sure.
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Well, that's the first I've heard of
Is
it.
it signage? I said,
We can-
are we?
Yeah, just, you know.
Oh, yeah, they'll
I think-
all be at my
I think
house.
us as selectmen will request a
Sure.
little timeline down, and we can,
I think it's a good idea.
Send out notices.
Yeah.
and what it's gonna be.
Mhm.
But they're gonna end up with a really, finally, a good road.
Yes.
Well, it's
Skip
better than
drainage.
just throwing asphalt on top.
Okay, so we didn't have a motion or anything on the table yet, right? Okay, we had, Jason asked,
He had his hand up.
he's asked.
I got a question. This is about just bidding in general. Why do we go with 3 bids? I watched you guys do this with a police car before. You got 3 bids, you didn't take the low bid, you picked who you wanted to pick. And I'm okay with that because there's factors, intangibles like, you know, service and proximity or whatever. So at what point, if we want to pick somebody that isn't the low bid, we approach them, i.e. this case, say, hey, listen, you weren't the low bid, but we like your service, can you match the low bid? Do we renegotiate and go down to the low bid? And because you didn't do it with the cruiser, you picked who you wanted, the close person, and you didn't come back and say, hey, listen, can you match the low bid?
I might be
Here's what
able
we'll do the deal
to
for.
answer that for you. Jeannie, you could probably chime in on that. I don't believe that we are allowed to go and
The state
ask
does it all the
other
time.
people to rebid
I
again.
don't
It's not a bid, it's negotiation.
negotiated
It's a counter-
in the
We-
past.
We did on one of the cruisers.
Yes, we
We
did.
did do that.
Yeah,
We've done that.
We went back to the vendor we
It's
wanted.
not illegal. The state does it with
Yeah.
contracts all the time. And then what happens sometimes is they take it to governor and council, and they say, they want to renegotiate too, but it's not negotiated until you sign it.
we've
So
done it in the past with,
Yeah,
if you want to
thanks.
pick your,
Thanks, yeah.
who you like.
Sometimes it's a
you know.
time issue.
Thanks.
So
Jeannie?
my experience in the past, for the towns I worked for before, we did not do that. So what I don't know, and I would have to check, is if it's a policy, because if you've done it in the past, either you're not supposed to do it, and you're doing it, or it's okay. But I'd be happy to check on that.
we've
I've
done it in
never-
the past because it wasn't
I
clear
do
that they
recall in
were
the
bidding
past.
apples for apples. And we went back and said, this
This was-
document says this document says this, we have a bid on this. Explain what this is, and can you meet this price?
That's right, on the car
This
bid.
was an RFP that was laid out.
Right. So, yeah. But to answer his question, we have gone back with bids and renegotiated.
RFPs.
Yeah. On
I've
cruises.
just never seen.
On cruises,
Only like she said, because they weren't bidding the same.
right.
Okay,
We weren't
so-
apples to apples.
So we've got that.
Make a motion, we accept R&D
We have a motion to accept the bid
for the
of
project, road
One-
projects. 2019.
$138,255 for the Cedar Street project.
Linden, Highland, whatever.
Second.
Can we add Maple Court to
And-
that while we're doing it, the
and-
motion?
And we have a second prior to getting that in.
Oh, I found it. I found it. I couldn't find my page.
Any,
Contingent upon safe travel. Passageway.
so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Let the record show, nay.
So that's that. So, when you can, you'll figure out a timeline so we can
Yes.
have a public hearing to just.
I will work on a
educate everybody.
timeline so that everybody has dates that they can work with. Yes, that's correct.
And that will help keep phone calls from you.
Yes. It is a large project. and
Many phone calls.
I understand, but I feel the finished product will be worth it. We will have fresh new pavement, new roads, and we don't have to worry about utilities making trenches and disturbing the top coat, basically. So,
Mr. Chairman, it comes under my report, but since Kevin is here, I thought it would be a good opportunity to bring it up now, since we've got some time very quickly just to address the Academy Street project.
the Academy Street retaining wall. I met with Humiston Contracting out of Meredith, and he proposed that we build an additional retaining wall, leave the existing one there, and build an additional retaining wall with a wider base, whether it be 6 or 8 feet wide at the base, tapering off to the top, so it's a nice, strong structure, basically. It's got a wide footprint. Leaving the existing wall there has some sound properties, because if we remove that, we're going to disturb that entire roadbed. At least now it's settled, it's existing. If we add a wall to it, it's in actuality adding strength to what's already there.
And he also addressed the drainage, the
Drainage as well.
stormwater, and you might talk about the fabric filter and the
Yes.
type of stone that he wants to use.
His plan is to use 5 tractor-trailer loads of quarry granite or quarry stone, which is blasted. It has sharp edges, so it fits together nice and solid. It's not like trying to stack a bunch of marbles. This stuff will interlock and form a nice wall. And as a backer to that, he's using 3 to 6 stone, which has a really strong roadbed quality, locks together, but it allows the drainage as well. So anything that does fall in for water will drain all the way to the bottom and out without erosion. And on the backside of that, using a filter fabric to hold the existing road together so it doesn't filter down through the new wall that he's building. So in essence, it's like an onion. He's building an onion, and the outer layer is the strongest, and he's adding strength as he goes with layers. And it won't encroach on the water department's property. It will stay within our right-of-way.
What is our right of way? Is that defined anywhere? We don't have standard right of ways in this town.
I was gonna say, you're taking out that their paved driveway area, correct, with the 6 feet? You're just
No.
stacking it in front of it?
No, it's within their paved driveway, because the wall doesn't start until after their driveway.
But as it loops around to the buildings, and
Yes.
isn't it mostly paved? I'm trying to remember.
It is paved, but there's probably 10 or 12 feet of material.
In between the building.
Exactly.
Okay.
And one of the benefits of doing the way he's proposing it is that you can leave the guardrail in place, so you
Guardrail
won't
in
have to
place.
install a new guardrail. And you're not tearing everything up and destabilizing.
Everything that's existing there is helping hold everything together. With his wall, in addition to, will make it a very strong entity.
Is this guy an engineer?
He builds walls.
He builds
Contract.
walls.
He has, I have working knowledge with Humiston Contracting years ago with my well drilling days. I've worked with him on previous projects, and his walls are structured very strong. He has some, along Route 3 towards the weirs, he has some retaining walls in those new developments. John Humiston built all of those. So there's some,
Very impressive, some of this.
exactly,
Did he give us a cost?
yes.
Was
30,
was that the, okay.
Go ahead, it's right
Go ahead.
there.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. You snuck it in there. It's here, oh, okay. 34,900 was the cost for the Academy Street.
How will he lock his new wall into the old wall?
He won't.
So it'll be a freestanding wall?
It'll be the 3 to 6 inch stone in between. So it'll be its own entity, kind of like a border to the existing wall. He will erect his new wall. The previous wall is here, and he will use a
Just sitting here
fill.
thinking about, we don't know any hydraulic pressures that are in there, or, I'm always leery
Well,
of
his-
freestanding walls.
No, that's why
But I'm not a
it's
stone
gonna be
person.
erected as 6 to 8 feet at the base, tapering out a foot or two at the top, so it's gonna have a wide.
Okay, say no more.
The best example I could tell you is at the state prison in Laconia. They have that outbuilding along
Yep,
Parade Road, that exact concept,
I
the
know
outside.
exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
I didn't hear previously that the base was,
Yeah, the road will fail before
Okay,
the.
so that's-
I like that idea.
So how,
It'll look very nice too. It'll be very aesthetic to the eye.
so, we talked with the aqueduct at all about it?
They were there, we didn't really have
Water
much of a
department?
Yeah,
conversation.
make sure they're on board and
But
they're,
I did speak with him briefly, and
Who was there for the aqueduct?
John,
Okay.
yeah, he was there, and yes, John Chase, and he was for it. He was very
Yeah.
willing to work with us. So
that's important,
yeah,
because
yeah.
well, the bigger issue, which is why we have our finance guy here, is it's not in the budget, obviously. It's not, I don't think it's money we have unless we can find it, or we can always wait till next year. But at least we wanted to bring it to you so you were aware that we've kind of looked all over the place. We started out with an engineering study that we got one response that cost $34,000, $35,000 just for the engineering study. Then we had the other company bid on, the one that you have experience with, bid on it, and that bid came back 80 to 100,000, and that was based on 200 feet of wall, really, and really just, I think the guardrail comes out, everything comes out, and everything's new, and it's the precast or those type of, structures.
The interlocking precast blocks.
So, and then you have this, so. Certainly, I don't think it's anything you need to make a decision on tonight. We just wanted to bring it to your attention that this is where we're at in the process, still investigating options.
at some point before we go ahead with the project, we need to do the courtesy of having a conversation with the Water District Commissioners. Don Chase is their superintendent, he's a great guy.
Oh,
I agree
absolutely.
with Catherine.
Yeah,
One
absolutely.
governing body to another.
Yeah,
Right. I agree.
very good.
thanks.
Thank you.
Pray for your son.
Oh, yes. And I'll work on those
Maybe
timeframes.
after tomorrow.
Was today's spring?
Yeah.
First day? Yesterday.
Yesterday was first day of spring.
First day of spring.
Yeah, snow Saturday.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
since we have a few minutes, could we ask Tim to come up and talk to all of you about the purchase and sale agreement on the diocese property?
Yes, we'll head up schedule, so that would be great.
Thank you, Kevin.
Do we have a copy of it?
Do you have a copy of,
Purchase
The
and
one that's
sale,
been
was emailed.
No,
Yeah.
which is why,
so do we still have one that says 5.2 acres on it?
yes.
Okay.
So
We don't have a paper copy to go with what he's saying.
I
Was that emailed to us?
I don't want to look at it in email. I can barely see that computer.
okay, well, I can give you mine.
Just wish we had a copy of it, that's all.
Well, there were, we had seen the purchase and sale agreement, or a draft, which was part of our original packet when we were negotiating the letter of intent. And attached to the letter of intent was a sample that they've used prior. And so following town meeting and notifying them of the results, plus also we had provided a dollar deposit, which was the upfront deposit, and then to follow up, and you'll see in the accounts payable manifest tonight, there's a check for $9,999, which is the remainder of the non-refundable deposit. So if for some reason, as long as they don't default, but if we back out, we lose that deposit. So in any event, in going through the purchase and sale, there were a few things that differ from the letter of intent. The letter of intent looked at the other uses as sort of a positive thing. In other words, that we can buy this for these purposes, for municipal purposes. The purchase and sale has a reverse of that. So rather than saying what you can use it for, it says what you can't use it for, and that's in Exhibit B. We made a few minor changes throughout the agreement. One was clearly for the difference in acreage based upon the survey. A second one was some discussions about some of the fees and costs and some suggested wording there, which is very minor. And then probably the more important item was regarding recording. They had a requirement that the agreement not be recorded with the Belknap Registry, nor be made public in any way. So we modified the language to cover what we felt was reasonable for them, and which was to say that we wouldn't record the agreement with Belknap Registry, but that it would be available for public inspection because we're a municipality and it's subject to statute by statute. Someone can request to see it. That seems to be where we are right now, and they don't seem to. I don't think they have a problem with the suggested wording that we had sent to them regarding that paragraph. And really, that was the only other. Yes.
What possible reason would they have to not want it registered with the Registry of Deeds?
Well,
everybody knows they're selling it to us.
No, it has to do with, I'm sorry,
language.
just be careful.
Sure. So it's just I think the language, because this is a proprietary agreement of theirs, and they don't want it in the registry where anybody can search and pull it up easily, I think. It's not exactly known to us why, but it is it's a desire of theirs. So
they have no legal requirement to divulge the information. So I guess whatever, right?
They don't want this recorded.
That's correct. Just the agreement.
Just the deed.
Just right.
Okay, I thought the whole thing was to
No. Just this purchase and sale agreement. And again, they're willing to acknowledge that as the purchaser and as a municipality, we have responsibility to maintain public records and public documents, and so that is that's pretty much where we are right now. So their attorney is reviewing the suggested changes that we made. It seems as though we're right there. We just didn't have it in time for.
Yeah,
I have a question. I just got that. By acceptance of this deed, That's under Exhibit B. It says, by acceptance of this deed, grantees agrees with these covenants, will run with the land and shall be binding upon the grantee, its successors and assigns. This isn't a deed.
No, but when you accept the deed, covenants are in a deed.
Right.
No.
Yeah, so I believe
That's 12 years of real estate.
Exhibit B becomes part of the deed.
Well, for this agreement, it should say agreement. Or, as it says up here, deeds and conveyances, I don't know, but this is not a deed.
No, not the entirety of the agreement. That's correct. So the bottom line is that that we're working towards something that we feel is appropriate, and we're very close. We're just waiting on them to go through their process with their attorney and provide it back to us, and hopefully this next Thursday we'll have it available for signature.
Yeah, I expect, we've been communicating back and forth, and I expect, what I suggested to Rob is we have a conference call tomorrow, the three of us, to talk about the final details of it, so we'll definitely have it by next Thursday, to be sure.
What does the timeline start? When does the clock start ticking? Because there's language in here that talks about 60 days under the due diligence part,
What's the last person saying?
and then there's like 30 days from the date, it sounds like, when they receive this,
Right.
and everything else that goes with it?
So the due diligence period is basically 30 days for us to review title search, any sort of concerns about hazardous materials, anything along those lines.
Except underneath that, still in due diligence, 7.03,
Let me pull it up.
in the event that the purchaser does not receive approval from the town of Tilton to purchase and subdivide the premises within 60 days of execution of this agreement. So on one hand, we got 30 days, on the other hand, we got 60 days.
Because the 60 days is the 60 days is going towards the projected closing, I believe. So in other words, it is a little nebulous about the approvals, and at the time that we were reviewing this, it wasn't determined what other approvals we would need other than the fact that we've had the survey done and that town meeting has approved it. If there was any other board or commission that had to review it, or which it sounds as though there's not a requirement for that. So that I have one here, yeah. So the projected closing would be the 60 days from our signing and providing this purchase and sale agreement, and once it's countersigned. So that would start the 60-day clock running.
Okay.
And then
Thank you.
within that time frame, we have 30 days to, apprise them. Yeah, and say, no, sorry, we found some
Contaminants or
verbal
whatever.
problem or something, right? And part and parcel of this is, I'm sure Jeannie will be just surprising you of, commencing the title search, so that can begin.
Well, this is kind of an FYI question on my part, but the subdivision that was done when the property was conveyed from Milo Pike to the diocese, is that division line the same line?
I don't believe so.
I mean, at some point on, was there a lot line adjustment, because that would have had to have taken place?
That I don't know, but our surveyor did, I don't believe it's exactly the same. Our surveyor had gone and there's a, I don't know if you have a copy of the survey in front of you.
So this would be the lot line adjustment I'm looking for.
Yes, but there is one, and it's very clearly marked, and it basically starts at a gate, goes through a tree line. The berm is on the town's side. It goes right down through the tree line. On the diocese side, there's a I forget what it was called. There's a few things from a shed to some sort of bulkhead. which is on their side, and our side just goes right along that tree line to a post in the back. So at one point in time, it may have been a boundary line. It doesn't relate at all to what the description was of what we were releasing in
Okay.
terms of size, but
They
that was all
probably just
cleared up by
didn't
the surveyor.
recognize that boundary, and this would be the lot
Probably.
line adjustment I was
Right.
looking for. Okay.
Right. But the diocese has been, very accommodating, and we're just working with them to finalize everything to make sure that, we're properly protected and that we have everything to our satisfaction, and working with them to make sure that they get what's most important to them out of the agreement. And I think we will have it shortly.
Thanks, Tim.
Anybody else, the selectmen, anything else? Tim,
Thank you, appreciate it.
we have,
So are we buying 4.8 or 5.2 acres?
4.586.
88.
So that's
4.86.
one of the
4.588.
changes.
So for the committee, football field is an acre and a third. If they, when you're trying to fit that in, it's going to be tight, I think, looking at the conceptual.
The architect had looked at, what, the survey and what we're talking about, and with the reorientation, it seemed to be feasible.
60 by 120.
By reorienting it, yeah.
and Jason, I think had a question for us. Jason?
Quick one. When we voted to approve the purchase at town meeting, it was, I think part of the discussion was the flexibility of the use of the property, which seems to have now been curtailed. What can't we do with the property now?
I think it was actually very clear that it was.
The warrant
but
article said
it-
police station or other municipal purpose, other
I think
purposes,
Gina-
that was pretty wide open.
Jim, could you answer that?
Sure. So when we started this process, when Tim and I met with the diocese, they gave us the deed, and they laid out the boundary, all the, I don't know what the technical terms are, the description of the property.
Needs some,
And it said, and somebody had come up a while back with the number 5.2 acres. But he said to us, you have to disregard that and really go by what the deed says. And so the surveyor, and it was made very clear to us in the beginning that what we wanted to purchase was what we were leasing, what we had been leasing. Joyce made that very clear. So the surveyor went by the description in the deed, and he actually clarified that it really wasn't 5.2 acres, that it was 4.588 acres.
Right.
So nothing changed other than the information we had up front really wasn't accurate.
But if
But
I
the warrant article-
can I-
Jason
may I
Jason was
answer?
asking something about the
restrictions
excuse
were
me,
always there.
I'll just repeat that. Jason's question, if
Is on the
it was correct, was you were asking what the restrictions were that were suddenly
Yeah, there
put
was
on.
language reversal of what
Well-
we could do versus what we can't do.
Well, if I may, this is actually better for us, because what it's, and we were expecting this, because in the beginning, talking about the generalities, it was for any other municipal purpose, and this doesn't preclude any other municipal purpose. What this is specifying is there are very specific things that it cannot be used for, and none of those encroach on any sort of other municipal purpose.
Such as?
The moral issues that
Adult stores.
were addressed.
Live
I mean, it's-
performances involving pornography.
Commercial.
I mean, it's pretty basic.
Hang on, I don't think we should be
Yeah. That's fine.
review all the documents, but I can tell you it's of a nature that
So it
You would
goes along
expect
some
the church.
similar
And
lines.
essentially not commercial use.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks,
Right.
Tim. 6:00. Where it's not
So-
ready to be signed. We're still working on it, and we'll get the,
finalized.
Trying to get one back,
Yes.
especially the acreage map change.
yeah. So,
So the document that specifies with the criteria that has the restrictions is, the church really wants to keep that within the town boundaries.
Excuse me, it's exactly 6 o'clock, and I want to open the
Okay.
public hearing on the 2019 reevaluation.
Just wanted to make sure that Joe wasn't here when we went through all of that, so we need to just
We'll get to it.
revisit that.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi. I'm not sure how you want me to.
Well, you come up,
Set it back to.
yeah,
Talk into the microphone.
there's not a lot of people here, so we
No,
can,
no.
all can huddle up
Sadly,
together.
that's why I thought maybe I could talk to the camera.
Well, you
Oh,
could.
yeah, that's an actual.
You can.
actually a
Take
good
John's seat
idea,
and you can
because
just,
I think so. I'm gonna sit in the
Hey,
audience.
we can just move down and you can, here, you can have my seat. Yeah, look at this.
I just thought if there were questions from, not that we have a big
Or we could
audience,
just
but
sit
if
right
there's
in front of
questions.
This, you could just have that my seat right there.
All right.
They don't want
Yeah.
that.
All right. And I'm gonna steal my glasses, I'm sorry. Old and blind. So, I think we did this, this is, am I on and?
The mics.
I have to be really close, okay. So, we've been your assessor since I think 2006. So we came in following that revaluation that was done by Vision in 2006. So this will be my third update for the town. We updated in 2014, and prior to that we had updated in 2009. So pursuant to state law, we have to bring all property values to market value at least once every 5 years, and 2019 is your assessment review and your statutory requirement to do that. So we're going to be starting that process. What that will entail is first we go out and look at all of the sale properties in town so that we can analyze those transactions and develop base land and building values. Once we develop those base values, then we update our model to reflect that, test it against those sales, and then we go out and we do a field review. And that entails us driving parcel to parcel, reviewing every property in town for consistency to make sure that we've applied those model specifications to everything. So we often hear from taxpayers at this time that we've just conducted a drive-by appraisal, which is a misconception, but we hear that a lot. So it's just the final phase in that process. We've been collecting data over 4 years to make sure that everyone's data is accurate, because as everyone knows, junk in, junk out. So we need to make sure the model is good first and that that data is accurate. But that's taken place over the past 4 years. So this drive-by that we do now is just a final check and a final review, but we do hear that a lot. We may have to drive up your driveway, take a look at your house if I can't see it from the road. So my visit, and that'll happen probably late April, early May here. We have a tremendous amount of sales activity, so we'll be able to start a little bit earlier than some communities that I don't have sales in. But my car will be marked, the police will know we're out here, town hall will know we're here, so it does spur some questions and some phone calls just so everyone knows that we're out and about. So we thought we'd try to do this public forum to get some taxpayer feedback, see if anyone had questions, concerns. They've been through the process a few times with us, so I think it's becoming more known. The whole process is more acceptable, more known, where 20 years ago it was big gaps in time before property values were being updated. So taxpayers are more aware of the process and more involved in the process. So after we do that field review, we'll finalize values. We present those values to the board, and we send out preliminary notices of value to all taxpayers. That letter that everyone will get will have their total value on it. It will give them instructions to call and set up an appointment to meet with us if they have questions, concerns, and it'll give them the link to go online and look at their data, look at everybody's data, look at sales. They can do comparable sales search on that. It's just a lot more tools out there now where they can make sure their data is accurate. Probably 10, 15 years ago, taxpayers didn't come in and look at their property record card to make sure their data was accurate. Now that we have these tools available online, people in the 10, 11 o'clock at night can log on and look at the data and make sure that their record is accurate, and they're being assessed only for what they have, not for what they don't. That said, if there is an error, call, come in, meet with us. We'll have staff available to run right out and do an inspection at the same time. So if you've taken time off from work to come in and meet with us, we don't want to delay you or set you back and have another appointment later. We'll run right out with you right then, make sure the data is accurate. Once we go through that process, we finalize all those values. We send everybody that was affected by the hearing process a final notice of value. And I say people affected by that because sometimes during that process we might learn something about somebody else's property that causes a change in the assessment. Well, sometimes there's a neighborhood change and you might not have come in for a hearing, but you may get a change in value and you would get a final notice. At that point, we would then turn everything back over to the town, which would include an updated copy of the database, a full set of property record cards, a USPAP report, which is Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. It's a mass appraisal report that details everything we've done, soup to nuts, how to understand your property record card, how values were developed, the premise of the whole job. And that's turned over to the town, and it's a pretty thick binder that, again, no one ever looks at, but it's here if you want to look at it. And we also will give it to you on a CD in PDF format so we can put up on the website. The last one's been up on the website since we completed it in 2014. We want to be as transparent as possible, give taxpayers as much information as possible. The more eyes on it, the better. It makes it a better process. And I think it's really been honed over time. So that's our process in a nutshell.
There are those who seem to think that assessing is a magic trick, that the assessments are pulled out of thin air. Now I know that's not true, but could you briefly touch over the science behind what you do?
Sure. So, there is some experience that comes into that. So I will never say that there's not a little voodoo magic in there. But most of it is objective data that we're analyzing. But we are analyzing the likes and dislikes of buyers and sellers in the market. So something that may appeal to you as a buyer may not appeal to me as a buyer. And so we are putting some magic, so to speak, on that, because people will say, well, perfect example is views.
That was my follow-up.
Of course it was, Joe. So a view is definitely in the eye of the beholder. Some people are willing to spend money for a view, some people are not. I've heard the argument that I'm blind, and so it doesn't matter to me that there's a beautiful view out there. But we're looking at market value, which is transmissible value, what's somebody willing to buy it for. And we're trying to measure that. And so we've tried to take something like a view that is very subjective, and we're trying to make it a little bit more objective. So what we've done with views is break them down now, and it's gotten better over the years. And what we do is we break it down into 4 categories: subject matter, width of view, distance of view, and the depth of the view. So while we all may look at Mount Kearsarge, if you can just see the treetop over the treetops and I can see the full mountain, we can better put factors on that for a value as far as what that view would add to an assessment. And they're all very different based on what we're extracting from the sales of properties that have views on them. So once we've developed base land and building values from market transactions, so say we developed a base land value of, and just for round figures, say $50,000 for an acre of land, and we had a square foot cost of buildings developed at, say, $85 a square foot. So then when we take properties like Views or Waterfront, we can extract out those base land and building values from their transaction, and what is left over would be attributable to either the View or Waterfront or some of those amenities above and beyond that.
So there's a science to it.
There is a science to it, and all of that information will be available for taxpayer review. All that spreadsheet analysis, all the application afterward as well. So for Views, for example, we have pictures in the manual with all those descriptions so that we can see kind of those categories, and you can see the lower value views, for example, tend to be those ones that are very narrow, just a little glimmer of it versus, or maybe obstructed, versus the ones that are panoramic and can see, to Mount Washington, kind of. Not that we have those type of views here, but that's what we would have, and you'd be able to see that with the photographic, as well as all the sales printed on all that information and the analysis that's associated with that.
So if those view values change, you'll update our view book?
Yeah, the whole manual will be updated. Yep.
Because we used to keep it out for residents who wanted.
It is still out. I think
The other views.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question.
Does the value change during the time of the year?
I'm sorry.
Won't give you value change potentially during particular times of the year?
Not
You
necessarily.
have an unobstructed view in the winter, but a partial or completely obstructed view in the summer. How does that factor in?
Generally, we're looking at the effect of the value. We'll be looking at them in the spring, summer. So it won't be full foliage necessarily, but you can see when trees are up. So we don't really want to look at properties that are a winter view, although that could be enhance a person's value that if they're trying to market that. But if your view is really only in the winter and it's largely blocked in the summer, we would be considering that in the assessment as well. So some people do have a seasonal view that's largely obstructed, so it would be conditioned down for all those factors. You generally want to be able to enjoy that view in the summer months. And the fact that you can peek at it occasionally in the winter, or it does affect the value. Oh,
Lauren, based on your anticipated work schedule, when would the town be adjusting all of our assessed values? Would it be like for the second billing?
it would be for the second billing.
So
We
then-
would turn everything over to you in time to submit your MS1 to the state to get your tax rate set. Because those new values would be used for that. So that's another thing which made me think of it now. Just a caution, right now we just got our ratio study back, and for 2018 the Department of Revenue has reported that our median ratio is 88% of market value. So simply put, that means that assessments overall, the median assessment indicates that properties are selling for more than they're assessed at, on average about 12% since the last update, which was 14. I'm not seeing that really so far across the board for all classes of property, but that is the median statistic. So if the town were to go up proportionally, say, and values went up, I don't want to say 12%, but that's what that statistic is saying. But if the total value of the town increased by that kind of percentage, the tax rate would have to decrease similarly. So the scary thing in an appreciating market is taxpayers will get that preliminary notice of value. They will multiply it by last year's tax rate. They will have heart failure, and they will all call me and come for a hearing. Don't have heart failure yet. I mean, it's the new values will be used to set the new tax rate, and that won't happen until sometime in the fall. And they all come in during, like I said, when values are going up, they come and yell at me. That's a good thing. It's the biggest asset you own. It's good that it goes up. But just recognizing there's not typically big shifts in the tax burden. Does anyone else have any questions? Hi.
So you're not going to physically inspect any buildings
Well, we've been collecting data over the past 4 years, so not specifically this year, but during the informal hearing process, and as we go out and look at sales, we'll measure and list all of the sale properties. And during that informal hearing process, if any taxpayer has noticed an issue or did not get an opportunity to schedule an appointment prior and would like us to come out to make sure the data is accurate, we will do it during that informal hearing process as well.
I would have to wait that long. Last year, my building was scheduled to be inspected.
You're probably on my list of people to call.
I made over 20 phone calls to schedule an appointment.
Yep,
Couldn't get through. When I finally got through, they were done in my area,
yep.
and there's something on my tax card that says I wouldn't allow someone into my house the year before I moved,
Okay,
and that wasn't the case. And that kind of annoyed me,
okay.
because I just soon have somebody look at it,
And make sure it's accurate.
yeah, because there are things I want to do, and
Did you contact the town? Because I do have a list of a handful of names of people that couldn't make an appointment during that time frame, or it wasn't convenient, and they're on my due in the spring list that I took with me today to call and coordinate for our next visit here.
I did stop in at the town, but I don't know. I formally asked to be on that list.
Okay. Well, we can make sure we get your name and number, and I will call and add you to my list of people that we need to still inspect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was curious, a view tax,
Don't call it that.
at any point can a view actually depreciate your value, such as
Absolutely.
highways, dumpsters, or
Absolutely.
junkyards?
Yes,
Explain how that works.
it's the same. Everybody has a view. It's just what your view is of. Most people are looking at the cars that drive by, the house across the street, maybe they look at trees across the street, and that would be your typical view. So that's going to be the base for everybody. Then people who live next to a junkyard or wastewater treatment, or something that negatively impacts it, so that if you were trying to sell your property, someone drove by and saw the junkyard next door, it may impact their decision. Some people may not buy, so it may limit your pool of buyers, but some people may be willing to buy, but at a lower price. So it affects it just the same as looking at a beautiful mountain or the lake. It's just the other direction. And we do recognize that, and we do account for that in our assessments when you have that kind of negative impact.
That's why you put all the nuisance industries in the same area.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tom.
thank you. My name's Tom Damon, I live in California Road. I've never heard of anybody adjusting my view tax all the time that I've lived there. It's always gone up. My view hasn't gotten any better, just gone up. At night, I get light pollution. And in the daytime, I don't have any light pollution. So a zoning bylaw's been passed, we can have lights on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week now. So now there's more light pollution. So my view tax is going to go down. No, it's not. I have to pay to look at what God made. That's insanity.
I'm not sure that's a question, but I will address it.
The question is the view value adjustment. That's my question. I have a view during the day, but at night I have light pollution, which detracts from the view. But my view tax never goes down. One other thing is, my view tax is never delineated on my tax card. How much I'm taxed for my view on my tax card. I don't know how much I'm paying in my view.
It's on your property record card.
No, it's not.
If you are assessed for a view, it's delineated on your property record card.
Okay, well, I've looked at it, it's not there. That's all I've got.
Then maybe you're not assessed for a view. I'll look at that for you. But if your property is assessed with a view, it's a separate line item. We break it out from the land, and it's right on there. It is not a view tax.
If I lived in a ship container on my property, and my ship container is assessed for $3,000, and my view tax is $10,000, I might as well walk away. But this is crazy. You can't be so much of a proportion of your total view. I mean, I got 5 acres here. You want to come up and work my land, come up and work it. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of work. I put a lot of sweat into this place. And I just think the whole concept of a view tax is just stupid.
I'll clarify, there is no view tax. Every property has to be assessed at its market value, and there are certain features that affect value. But just like I walk through your house and count your bedrooms and bathrooms, if you wanted to call those a bedroom and bathroom tax, so there's no more a view tax than there is a finished basement tax or a bedroom tax or a bathroom tax. It's all components that add to the market value of your property. So Gail just pulled up your card for me.
Yep.
So your view is assessed with a market value separated out in a separate line on your card at $22,500.
So I'm assessed $22,500 to look at the mountains.
Correct.
So if I paint my windows black facing that side, I'm going to reduce my tax burden by $22,000.
No, the view is still
But
there.
if I put a tree out there, will that do it?
If it's your tree, probably not. Again, that would, you have a view from your property. So if you were to market your property for sale, what could you get on the market?
So if I market my property for sale, which I'm going to have to do because I can't afford the taxes in this town, because I'm on a fixed income, I can just say, well, I want X amount of dollars plus $22,000 for the view tax. I can't take the view
Well,
tax with me when I leave.
it's not plus that. So for example, you bought your property in 2006.
Correct.
And on your MLS listing for that property, did it talk about how beautiful the view was from the property?
First of all, I saw the property before I was on the MLS list.
Okay.
So I don't care what was on the MLS. That's 2006. I can't remember it yesterday, let alone.
But it was marketed.
2006.
It was marketed for a price that included all of the features: the land, the bedrooms, the bathroom, the square footage, the view, the garage. All of those features are marketed, and you are willing to pay a certain price for that property. That entails all of that. That's all we're trying to do. There's no added. We separate it out on your card for ease of review, so that if somebody next to you with 5 acres of land that doesn't have a view, they could compare it to yours and see what the difference is. But you're not paying more. So you're not selling it for a certain price and say, in addition to that, you're going to pay something else. It's the market value. What could you sell the property for?
I still have a problem. So I put it there, not me.
I hear you. I do.
Another question I had, so you're going to give people a notice that of their value after you do it.
Correct.
Will they be able to research and look at, such as like their neighbor's house and what you decided at that time? To
Yes.
see if they want to challenge it? Because they might say, well, I want to make sure my neighbor's got.
Right, and that's
clean
often,
houses.
exactly, that's often, people will look at their property, and I've always been similar to this one, or they want to look at the select board, or whatever they want to look at to compare. So that letter will contain the information to give you access to go online and look at that information. Yes, but the updated values.
Until the mass upload.
Right. So right now it's the old, right now it's the old assessments. But the new information will be up there. They'll be able to do comparable sales search. They can look at anybody's property. And I know we do have a large number of elderly population in town that may not have a computer or be savvy with that. And Town Hall has been wonderful with helping people. The computer that I work on downstairs is available, that people can log on to that. The library has access to computers, so I just want to make sure that people don't just stay away from that because it's on a computer. There is a lot of good information, but it is all available, and that information's on there to link to it.
So everybody knows that after they get this notice, if they can't access that through the computers or something at home, they can come down here and we can set them up and they can check out what everybody else,
Here,
how
at
their
the
value
library,
changed
absolutely.
too, to make sure that they feel that theirs is compatible.
Absolutely.
Discuss it.
Well, we should also add that people who aren't computer savvy may not know how to look it up, but we will print the card out for them.
Everyone here has always been wonderful to help anybody with that.
So, is there, if I don't like my tax
Tough luck, Joe.
assessment, just say, is there a process that I can use to challenge that assessment? Or get a full explanation from you?
Yes, so the first step would be to call and set up an appointment to come in and meet with us during that informal hearing process. And I don't make all the people happy all the time. But obviously now that we have more tools available to taxpayers so that they can review, they can compare, they come in, they've done their homework and they have information. At the end of the day, when we finalize those values, they still may not be happy with that final value. As they do every year, they have the right to file for an abatement, but that has to occur after the tax bills have gone out. They have to be aggrieved by a tax. So they could file for an abatement, provide whatever information at that point. I typically would review them, make a recommendation to the board, and then a decision would be made one way or the other. Then beyond, so they have kind of two steps at the local level to get satisfaction, and then if they're not satisfied with that, they have the right to appeal it either to the Board of Tax and Land Appeals in Concord or to the Superior Court, but not both. So there's several steps that they have that they, avenues to examine if they're aggrieved with their assessment.
If you're gonna file for the abatement, that's after the second billing, correct?
Correct,
And what's the window?
And before?
before March 1st.
Okay.
And then the appeal process would be after you're either got a decision from the abatement process, and you have up until September 1st that following year for that process.
Thank you.
And when you file for an abatement, that information is provided back to you as well, that appeal process, and it's in that final letter from us as well too, so that we're trying to make sure they have all the information available. We never want someone to say, I didn't know that was what I had to do. So we make sure all of that information is out there.
What changes the year built of a house?
What changes the year built?
So
house?
let's say you have a house and there's
Where
some
do you guys
people-
get these?
There's some people who put pretty major additions onto their houses, but the tax card would say built 1915.
It's going to
But-
say whatever year the house was built in. So
Now, if that house was a 10 by 10 schoolhouse type thing, and then it turned into a 80 by 60 house from there, would it still say it's a 1910 house and
It
be
would.
assessed at a value of 1910 value?
well,
Or-
not necessarily,
Sure.
but the age is the age. So when your foundation's put in and the house is built, that is the year built. It doesn't change, unless maybe your house burned and you rebuilt. But that's the year your house was built. It's going to stay that. And people do add on over time, and that's going to change maybe the overall quality and condition of the home, but the year built is going to remain the same. Like I said, there is some circumstances where a house is burned and they've rebuilt, and then it's still on the same foundation, but it's a new house. We would have a new year built for that, because it would meet today's standards as far as building codes and whatnot.
But I know what you're saying, John. It used to be effective year built. What's that branding when they say effective year
Yeah,
built?
that's not something that we use in our model, where we would always look at the condition and quality of the house for the age it was built. I think when you had vision here, that was something they used, was that effective year built.
Is that because I guessed if they didn't have data?
No, they actually would have the actual age, but they're really applying a real cost model. They're trying to account, you have a building, it has an economic life of, say, 30 years. And if it was, actual age was 1970, they might say, based on remodeling and whatnot, that its effective age is 1990. we deal with it, but we do it through the condition and quality of the
I only
home.
ask because back in my realtor years, I pulled many tax cards for CMAs and this, that, and there's a lot of 1900s out there that were not 1900 houses, but is that, again, another company, was that like a guess or a placeholder?
It could have been, and
Okay.
we've tried to get as close to, some of those, it's 1800s. If it's 1820 or 1800, it's probably not as relevant. But we do try to get that information, and we have had people come in, whether through abatement process or just taxpayer review, and dug through some of those old files to find an original year built.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
So nobody's going to
Thanks.
come see me during the hearings, right?
Oh, they will.
Yeah, I know they
You
will.
always-
I've been here a few
Your
times.
fan club
Yeah.
will be here.
Yeah,
And, yeah, thanks for coming down.
absolutely.
I think anybody who's, Lauren's worked with us for many years now, and solved a lot of problems and worked with people, so.
I try, but it's
very
not,
much,
like I said,
yeah.
it's not always, I don't make friends every day, but I try to be, the goal of it is to be fair and equitable. And at the end of the day, if everyone's just assessed for what they have, then we have fairness and equity among the assessments. And that's, at the end of the day, the only goal I can meet. But that said, I'll leave you, and if you have questions or concerns, I had given Jeannie and Gail some information, just kind of some frequently asked questions about the process and a write-up of what we've done, just trying to get the word out that it's going on this year so people aren't shocked. It's getting better because it is every 5 years, but we still want to make sure everyone's aware it's happening, and don't shoot me when I drive up your driveway. My car's marked. So I'll leave these. Gail made some copies. I'll leave them if anybody wants those. They're
And that
here.
information is also on the website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Can we set a time for the public hearing on it, or just, I think, because there's nobody else here, and I think we've already done all the questions on it. But, like I said, anybody can come in and make an appointment to meet with Lauren. So, town administrators report.
So, under action items, I had the purchase and sale for Sanborn Road property, which we'll put off until we get the final updated purchase and sale for you to take a look at. Couple items under the 150th committee. We wanted some guidance from the board. There is going to be a street fair this summer, and the question was asked, do they need to get vendor permits for the street fair this summer because they are operating under the town?
Oh, the peddler and hawker license?
Right, yes.
I would think so, they would, because
So
to
it's
keep
the
track of who it
town's
is.
event. Why would the town charge the town?
Oh, would they or people who are doing it?
The people on the 150th committee are putting together a street fair, and the question was, do they need to get a permit for the vendors?
So the vendors themselves that would be there would need hawkers,
Yeah, that's a different question.
peddlers
So this question is
permit.
the vendors themselves. would
Right.
need
The
to
vendors.
For our event.
Right.
This is like Old Home Day. We let them take care of it, we don't charge anyone. It's
Yeah,
the same
we always
idea.
waived it.
In the past, we have waived
We waived for Old Home Day.
for those one-day events.
When is the summer fair? Do they have a tentative date?
They do,
June
and
22nd.
what?
June 22nd.
There you go, June 22nd.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was before the sidewalk project.
Yeah, that's why I was listening.
Kind of the kickoff for,
Okay, so
I
they
guess
don't,
I had a question about that vendor's permit, and it's, that, I always thought the permit was to make sure that the person is legitimate and insured, and we know who they are, and they produce an ID for it.
We can still go through that process.
Without
So-
Just
charging
not charge them.
So if we would still require the form, but not charge a fee.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay. So require the form but waive the fee for anyone who's participating in the street fair this summer for the 150th.
Now, is there a limit to the number that they can have? So anybody who wants to can just fill out the form and set up?
There's space limitations ultimately. It only fits so many out there.
I think that the chair of the street fair has done this before and probably knows the right mix and number, so.
Okay.
Under the 150th committee, Kettlehead is creating
We
a,
didn't get a consensus or an
Oh, I
opinion
thought-
from all the selectmen on that.
I thought I did.
Consensus on having everybody fill out the vendor form but not have to pay a fee? Yes?
Yep.
Peter?
All I'm looking for is like a certificate of insurance. If they're insured.
Who they are, and
Yeah. That they have insurance if anything happens.
that's the form.
Okay,
Is that for everyone? Is that for the street fair?
yes.
Yeah, all the vendors.
Because
Give me a copy
what
of
I,
insurance.
what I heard you say that when you have Old Home Day, that's what you do. Is that
They
correct?
don't do a certificate of insurance with the
Yeah, we don't have
vendors.
them fill out the
Old
form.
Home Day.
Oh, we should.
They do for Old Home Day, we fill them out.
Certificate of insurance?
No, we
Yes.
don't, because we let the Old Home Day Committee take care of it.
Right.
But we don't tell the Old Home Day Committee, we need to have them come in and fill out the form and we'll wait the fee.
The issue
We
with
just
that,
go.
so the street fair that we had years ago, they had a lot of vendors, craft vendors, that they had come in. So, how do I articulate it? To get liability insurance, so if you have a regular craft vendor, like an artisan or whatever, and you're going to have you're going to spend $300 or $400 for a liability insurance license on that, to come into a fair, even though you're not going to have a fee associated with that. So you're going to have to try to sell $300 or $400 to break even on that, on crafts or whatever. And we didn't, at the street fair that we had, the summer fair that we had a mixture of different crafts, artisans in farmers markets. And remember, we had way down at the end farmers market. And we didn't require them to have the insurance that goes with something like Tanger. If they have it at Tanger, they're required to have that insurance, which is an astronomical amount of money to pay for a vendor, one vendor. We ran markets forever and ever, and they're $300 to $500 a piece, and I know Jason's been involved in markets like that too. They're astronomical liability insurance for one day.
But if they're on our property at our fair, do we want to accept the liability because they can afford the insurance?
Can I interject here? We've been paying, as the Laconia Indian Historical Association, we've been having to provide an insurance certificate to the Old Home Day, directly mailed from our insurance company, to sell popcorn for many years. So, and that's, and Cindy, or the Old Home Day Committee will not allow anybody to do it unless they fill out the application and turn in proof of insurance.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I'm on that committee.
There's a local Renaissance fair on one of the properties in town. They require
Insurance.
a hawker and peddler license from people that say, for instance, sell cotton candy.
We
So
require
it's
it.
different, a hawkers and peddlers is different than a liability insurance now. So what do you,
Doesn't
I'm
our
saying
hawkers and peddlers
the-
require proof of
The
insurance?
question was, we want a consensus, was if we want to have them fill out a hawkers and peddlers form, but waive the cost,
Wait, the fee.
the fee.
The hawkers and peddlers.
but you still want to
application-
require them the insurance.
that's on the,
And if they're an appropriate vendor, then they probably have one anyways.
I know that would preclude some little guys.
It will preclude,
Kids selling
it
lemonade.
will preclude the little guys, that's for sure, but go,
Okay.
We have
So
to
we'll
take
still
care
go
of
through the
that.
process and require the form, but waive the fee.
So I
You want the insurance. Yeah, they have to have insurance,
So
I think.
just for clarification, are we letting the committee who's running the street fair manage this, or are we still going to have anyone who wants to participate in the street fair come to the town and fill out the hawkers and peddlers license? That also includes the insurance, but we waive the fee. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
it's my understanding that we're going to have the Main Street Committee take care of it all.
Not the
but
Main Street
they'll-
Not the
Committee,
Main Street.
the 150th
The
Committee.
one, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The 150th Committee will take care of it all, but
Okay.
everybody there will have to fill out that form
Okay.
and submit it to the town.
All right, so the 150th Committee will manage it. We will make sure that they have forms so that they can make sure that they're filled out. All right?
Yep.
Jason, did you?
I did. What do we do with, just as a policy for all the vendors that show up and set up at the outlet mall, when all those craft fairs go on and screw up their parking plan, for example? Are they all beholden to hawkers and peddlers through the town?
That's different, it's private property. No, it's not
No, it
different.
isn't.
No, it's
No,
not.
because you held me accountable to a permit when we had the hot dog cart.
They
So,
have-
some of us don't agree about this, but they don't pay our hawkers and peddlers.
Well,
But it's not because they're on private property.
but you charged us when we had the hot dog cart on that private property, and we never got a refund. So which is it?
Because they call themselves a farmer's market.
No, they don't. It's a craft fair.
Well, I agree with you, but because they call themselves a farmer's market.
No. I'm
And they-
talking about when they set up the craft fair. With
So am
not,
I.
No, not the farmer's market.
Okay.
The one where they travel in from New York and Rhode Island, and they set up a hot dog, and they set up hamburgers and popcorn and cotton candy and all that stuff. And it's a traveling roadshow. It's not the farmer's, but it's not the lady that did the farmer's market.
I know it.
So can we look into that, with the discrepancy in between that?
There
Because
was a different,
Why?
there was a different discussion on that, and it was not because it was a farmer's market. They had a farmer's market there, which was exempt because it's the fruits of their own wares, and that is agricultural. That was a very different thing.
Right.
But there was another reason, and for the sake of it, I just can't remember what the reason was that we could not go after that because it was under the umbrella of the LLC. There was another reason that was not farmer's market, Catherine. There was another reason why we could not collect the.
It was the farmer's
No,
market
because it was two different entities. It's two different entities. Jason's right, there are
Well, we should
two,
look into it.
one was a farmer's market and one was a annual craft fair.
Yeah, let's look into
Craft.
it.
Yeah.
It wasn't because
But they
it was in
have to
private
submit
property.
liability insurance, they have to submit $1 million
Oh,
liability
Oh,
insurance.
blank for,
Individual to, is it Kuroko, whatever, what's their corporation's name? That's what they have to submit to.
Peter?
So when we had the farmer's market there, the seafood truck with the clams and the fish, they caught the fish and clams before they fried them? Or are they reselling a product? Just saying.
Okay, so we got a couple things
You have
going
to
on
look at
here.
the definition of
Do we
farmer's
want to go and have them do that?
Okay.
Do we want to finish this up next week?
Well, I
Or-
can go ahead
or
and
what?
look, I mean, what you're talking about is really separate from what I
Yeah.
asked the
Exactly.
question. And I think you've answered my
You've already
question
got
on
the
that
answer to
issue.
that.
Okay.
That's a separate issue, which I can look into.
Yeah,
Um,
especially when the summer coming up, we'll make sure
Right.
we're
One's
consistent.
past, one's future.
Right.
Thanks,
So,
Jason.
so the second item, again, with the 150th Committee, Kettlehead is creating a beer to celebrate Tilton's 150th birthday. The committee would like to have a beer garden on the Elm Grove Realty parking lot, which they did get permission for. It will require that the town get a liquor license, And my question to you is, do you approve this? I do have a call into Primex to find out, if we have coverage for this as relate, in addition to all the other activities. I just want to make sure we're covered this summer, whether it's the Tube Regatta, the street fair, or the beer garden. So that's my question to you. Do you approve this idea of a beer garden? Means the
Well,
town would have to get a liquor license.
This well, this might be a good thing because we'll probably know where to find Catherine.
Wow.
No, it's gonna be an IPA and not lager, so you won't find it there.
I think,
And myself.
No, it's gonna be just an ale.
And John, you're right, and John.
Peter likes the beer too.
Yeah, I'll be right
but-
down there
I think
checking it out.
I mean,
The
you
spirit
can
of
you can like the idea, but I really would like to have Primex weigh in on that.
Definitely.
Actually,
I
I
think
don't
it's a
like
great
that.
idea.
I would say
I'm not a drinker,
myself,
but I think it's a
would
great
say,
idea.
Condition on the Primex.
Okay.
But is that lot gonna be big enough? Seriously.
They would
All
have,
of
they
a
couldn't
sudden you're-
carry beer outside of it. There's very strict laws. They have to have it contained and whatever, but this is a family event. And to have the opportunity to be selling liquor under the auspices of the town, under our liquor license, just opens us up to maybe questions we don't want to be open to. Something to think about for next week.
I don't know, I think we.
But think about this, a beer named
I drink
after
beer,
the
I
town?
like beer.
But, the assumption is that people drink responsibly.
In theory.
And, there's
Hopefully.
there's an entity that's going to be selling it in libel, so they don't want to lose their license. So
It's our license.
So,
it's called being.
so this is something we need to think
Jeannie's
about,
gonna
and we're
fi-
gonna get some input on it.
Right, Jeannie's
And-
gonna look
and-
into it.
I think this is gonna be a very heated thing, so in like 1 minute or less, can you tell me what you think, Tom?
In 30 seconds or less, I'm
Yeah.
against selling alcohol anywhere that children are nearby. This is just, we're setting a bad example for the future of America. You want to go home and have a beer, you want to go to the place to have a beer, but when it's out in the public like that, it's just an invitation to say, okay, well, look at my neighbor over here, he's drunk as a skunk. That's okay. I think it's a wrong message. That's all. Thank you.
I think you can do it responsibly because oftentimes there's a lot of town events in other towns, in other cities where you come with it with 2 tickets and that's it, and it doesn't have any negative impact on the kids.
This is gonna be a,
Yeah,
This
it's
could be
very
a
easy to
tricky
monitor
one.
2 tickets.
2 tickets. There you
Well,
go.
let me find out from Primex.
yeah, find out.
And while you're at it, throw in Keno for John.
What, that the state's supporting now?
So, the 150th committee, the final question from the 150th committee.
I think it's a great idea.
Their original budget request for a deposit on the ornaments was $500, which was approved by the selectmen and the budget committee. The request came in yesterday to increase, or actually today, to increase the deposit amount to $640.
Because why?
For what?
It just was it's for an ornament for the 150th.
Oh, okay.
And I think the initial quote was more of a guesstimate, and now they have a hard figure.
Yep, go ahead. I'm in. Do it.
Get her done.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Jocelyn Lane. You may remember this a couple weeks ago, this came up, I think. And we need some clarification as to who's responsible for this road. If it's a private road, which I understand that's what we believe it is, the town needs to issue a letter to the DOT Planning and Community Assistance Bureau asking them to remove it from their list of town-owned roads. Would you like me to draft the letter requesting removal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
I will do that.
Did we go back to the archives and make sure that it was always a private road?
Answer that.
So a number of years ago, I had a resident who lived out there, or up there, and the road wasn't being maintained, wasn't being plowed.
Yeah.
wanted to know why it wasn't a town road. So I went back and looked to the original subdivision, and I couldn't find anything anywhere that the Board of Selectmen, and I read Selectmen's minutes, had taken it as a town road.
Okay.
Under updates, the true,
No, that I remember.
under updates, the True Green accident, so, been trying to figure out how to get this project moving forward and getting the repairs done. I had a conversation with Primex. They're getting their, or we're getting our money's worth from them these days. And what they recommended was that we draft a letter, that the letter says that no one is taking ownership of the property that's been damaged, but everyone, the stakeholders involved, recognize that there is damage and it needs to be repaired, and that they recognize one individual to manage the project, getting it done. So I would recommend that it be either myself or Kevin to manage it if the selectmen are willing to go that way so that we get this project done. I have contacted our prosecutor, because what Primex said is they recommend that the letter be drafted by an attorney and they can actually provide all the language because they've run into this before. This is not unusual. Have Jesse look at it, have our board sign off on it, DES, DOT, and Jim Cropsey, because those seem to be the stakeholders. And then we send the letter to True Green and tell them what we need to have fixed. Kevin and I met with, when we met on Academy Street the other day, we had John Humiston go down to the river and take a look at the capstones that were in the water. He did give us a price to pull those out. He said it could be done without putting equipment into the water. I did talk to DES just on the phone verbally with Rainey, who we had met with before. They said that sounded acceptable to them. They would go, well, basically what they do is they'd send a guy down into the water, strap the capstone, and pull it out. So we can get that done, and then we can get it cemented back in place where it needs to be. And then we get some quotes on different fencing, a nice fence there. And then we look at getting the sidewalk paved. And we will do that individually. I talked to Kevin about that today. Either Kevin can manage it or I can manage it, but I think if we want to get this done, we're going to have to be the ones leading this train.
Yep, I agree.
I would suggest that we allow Jeannie to manage the project.
Yep.
Peter?
Did I hear you correctly, Jeannie, that as long as it's just straps and a man in the river, we can use a crane to lift those stones and put them back in place?
That's what,
Catherine knows where I'm going.
I do know where he's going.
We hire a crane from like Beck and Bellucci, park it across from Cumbies, and fix the north end or the east end of the island.
Yep.
And strap those granite pieces and put them in place,
Ask Palmerston.
and then pin it with rebar on front and back so that in place.
so are we talking about two different projects?
Two different
Yeah.
projects, but we're talking a project we've been talking for years and always
Just
told
got
we
excited,
needed wetland
all
permit.
that.
And relative to that one, I think I've mentioned it before, but that is a conversation I want to have with the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance to see about getting funding to get those repairs done on the island. You know, that, and yes, certainly we can talk to them about that, but there's no funds for that. And I know we've got money in the account, but I'd like to see if we could use it as matching funds and get some funds from other grant opportunities.
That's going to require a huge crane in the island. It's going to do it from the side of the road.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need one that big for the.
So I think we're all in favor of Jeannie managing this, going ahead in the method that, and we'll.
Yes.
So that's, the answer is yes.
Aye.
All right, so what I will do is, we'll get a letter drafted, we'll have Jesse look at it, approve it, we'll get it in front of the selectmen for you to approve, And that,
Just do it.
well, you need to sign off as the selectman, and then I'll get the other stakeholders to sign off, and then we'll get it to True Green.
Okay, but didn't we just sign off to say you manage it?
We have to literally sign the letter.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think I don't need to go through the FYI. There's
Oh,
just,
interesting reading in the FYI.
just,
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Catherine, you need to read that because it's the Tilton School property.
Okay.
and actually, now that I look at the FYI, you'll see that I have our town prosecutor looking at the poll agreements from Eversource and Consolidated for the 150th banners, but I also then shot those agreements to Primex, and they came back with some real concerns. And I know you're looking at the agreements as well.
flagged.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of things, so I don't know how successful we'll be negotiating that with Eversource or Consolidated on those, and getting those changes made relative to liability and that sort of thing.
We have a contact, right?
Yep.
I think once we get it all in, we should put it together and maybe sit with Jesse and call her.
There's like a marketing seminar or something in there, in that FYI. Did you see that?
Yes, I put that in there for you. It's just SBDC doing some marketing programs for businesses in the community.
It's not something that you or Dari that wanted to go to, or, okay.
No. Reminder, April 18th is the Tilton Northfield Fire and EMS Service Celebration. The deadline to RSVP is April 11th. If you recall, we decided not to have a selectmen's meeting that night so you could attend. So my question to you is, do you all want to attend, and would you like me to RSVP for you?
I think I want
I
to.
will go.
Don,
I'm sorry.
April 18th
Assistant.
is the awards.
Assistant.
Oh, so what?
What we got going on?
The April,
I know we apologize.
April, it's nice to know I'm not listened to. No,
What
I'm
was
kidding.
The awards are
April
for the fire
18th.
department.
I heard that, yeah.
Do you want to go to it? Do you want me to RSVP?
Yes.
Okay, Peter, do you want to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
So we're not going to have a
I knew
meeting
you were
April
talking about
18th.
that, And I knew we brought that up.
I sent an email to Chief LaChapelle the other day, just asking him when he was planning the next meeting of the Police Building Study Committee, and his response back to me was that he would like written direction from the selectmen as to how you would like the committee to proceed. So, just wants to make sure that he's...
Planning a building is outside of the scope of their original direction, is that correct? Because I wasn't here for that.
Right. So
So
we
we have
need,
to have a new direction.
we need to take some time next week to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's it for me, unless you have any questions for me.
I have a question.
Oh.
Where is our Caleb Hill Road project at?
Well, interesting. So I found out the other day, Lakes Region Planning Commission had sent us an update on the project that Dari had submitted for the 10-year highway plan, and they gave us a lot of positive reinforcement about they were very interested in doing this. As an aside to that, they wanted to let us know that they had found out that Caleb Hill was taken off the 10-year highway plan, the funding for it. So I called Senator Gaida and said, are you aware of that? Which he was not. And he called me back today and said that he's already been in contact with the governor's office to get that back on the 10-year highway plan.
But it wasn't originally a 10-year highway plan, and I know we did that as kind of getting it into something, somewhere. This was supposed to be 1/3, 2/3. Have they done away with that? And if they have funded it, why aren't we in it? Because we were all accepted. So we should have priority, unless there's another town that was also accepted and thrown out. And there shouldn't be too many of them,
There
because
were
they don't
12
accept many in a year.
There were 12 towns that were
So
Rejected.
we should be one of the 12 towns
Right.
waiting for monies for that 1/3, 2/3 project.
Right, 80/20, yeah.
Do you remember what the number was on it?
It should be in the file.
Okay.
But I mean, we,
There's a Caleb Hill Road file downstairs,
So-
and it has the number on it.
Okay.
so at this point, it's not in the 10-year plan. It's the state's road, it's not ours. Then we need to be making loud noises and having them do something about the condition of their road
Absolutely,
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Because it is a hazard and it's dangerous,
yep,
especially with the bus. Emergency vehicles.
yep,
If somebody had a fire up there
yep.
or needed an ambulance, the ambulance is gonna have to drive slow to get there.
I'm so disappointed to find
Oh, that
we're
makes me
off the
angry.
list again.
Well,
We've been through this how many times? We're on, we're off, we're on again. Oh, no, sorry about your bad luck.
We approved it at town meeting, it was accepted by the state,
Yeah.
we signed the paperwork by the state, we were
Got the
all
bonding
set.
authority, we're
We
ready.
got the bonding, we were all set and ready to send out the RFPs to the engineers,
that's right.
and they rejected us. They sent us a notice
funding.
saying we don't have any funding.
And then, I mean, it's almost an insult for them to put their road in that
And
condition
now
on
here it
a
is the
10-year
next year,
plan.
and there's no funding
not
in the
an
following
insult.
year?
When's the last time they've done any maintenance on the road? Because they've stopped because there was gonna be
They did
work on.
a tiny little bit, and I think
Chairman,
that was because
Let
one
me
of
get
our
this
senators.
clear. One quick, so we were on it, it got removed. We met with the DOT and Bob
as a-
Guida and Joe Kenny, and then
As
it
a
was all
temporary
straightened
fix.
out. And then they came back to us and said, we're back on the list, the state's got you back.
No,
No.
as a temporary fix, they put us on a 10-year plan,
It-
which is a
exactly.
different pocketbook.
Yep, they put us back on the 10-year plan.
Not
Which-
back.
Not back
On the
on a
10-year
10-year
plan.
plan. We were never on it.
It was a separate
It's a
funding.
separate-
Started out different.
Yeah.
That 80-20 split, that they agreed, well, it's 2/3, 1/3, but then Joe Kenny went to the executive council and got the vote for 80-20.
Voting for us.
And then it was all signed off on and the whole bit. We were sent RFPs, we were mailing the RFPs out. They were on Joyce's desk to mail out. That was a different pocket, a different program altogether.
Yep.
And to appease us, to shut us up, they put us on the 10-year plan, the road plan, so that we could at least be on some type of plan for Caleb Hill Road.
Yes,
Now they've taken us off of that one
they
too,
just took us,
off of that.
There is a process, and it's in the RSAs, on how you, I believe it's like a petition, and the people on the road sign it, and you submit it to DOT to let them know their road needs to be fixed. I haven't looked for it for years, but it did exist, and perhaps.
So our senator's working on this diligently, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow up with them.
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead, Tom.
for every year now for the last 5 years, notwithstanding the awful condition of the Elko Road, out in front of my property, there's a boulder in the middle of the road. It's in the center line of the road, and every year it comes up through the road. State comes down with sledgehammers and knock the top off of that boulder and put coal patch over it.
Yeah.
That's their solution to the problem. Right in front of my property is a head wall. And it's collapsed. They came by with a pick and shovel and dug a scoop out of the bottom so that, which does absolutely nothing. I said, you're not doing anything. I was out there talking to him. I said, you're not doing anything. And I went out there and I like to take care of my property, and I went all up and down my frontage and took all the broken asphalt out and said, you fellas mind picking this stuff up? And they couldn't believe the amount of broken asphalt that I picked up and put it in piles so that they could do their job, because they don't want to do stuff like that. And I don't know when it's all going to be gone. I mean, it's just not. The road is just not viable anymore.
It's dangerous driving on that.
Well, and I see these kids going up, getting picked up and going down the street, and they're out of the seat more than they're in it, basically. I mean, if it was a cartoon, it would be funny, but it's not funny. You know what I mean? Every time that school bus hits a bump, these kids go like this. You see heads popping up and down. I think it's a shame. I asked some of the neighbors if they wanted to get a petition going, and I got no feedback. So,
They do have an official process and it doesn't go.
and I'm willing to go through that. I mean, my front lawn gets flooded every spring from the drain off, and, I didn't expect to have storm drains and streetlights, fire hydrants, and sidewalks when I moved there, but, I don't need my front yard flooded every spring. I just don't need that.
Yeah,
Make sure the assessor drives
think
up
we're
that
really,
view tax. that they
So
haul
we
out
need
the
to
road.
relight that fire again, and it's unfortunate every time we think we're doing
I'd
something,
like to get me started, don't you?
they just
I
switch
figured it
it
would
back,
knock
so.
the value down. It would make the
We'll have to
property
stay
less
right
than
on that
valuable.
one.
You get a road
Right,
discount.
Mr. Chairman, I also had a non-public
Thank you, man.
personnel, but I don't know if you want to wait till the end, if you want to go through the selectmen's reports and everything else and do it at the end.
Yeah, maybe we can do that, because we do have some people here.
Sure.
Is everybody okay with that?
I would say yes.
And that way, our audience can stay here. So we do have a non-public, but we're going to push it out to the end, so we can get all the other business.
Wow, you guys are the best.
We're in the neighborhood.
Tonight
You're going to
anyway.
owe me a beer at the beer garden.
Tonight anyway.
Hey, if all goes well, I'll have a band or two playing there. I'll be in it.
Thanks.
Some of that devil's music.
So we have,
going with devil's beverages.
Is that it for town administrator report?
Unless there were questions.
Okay. Then we go into selectmen's report. As for any special reports from the selectmen, what's going on?
I
Well,
have,
mine was
I have a
Hill
couple,
Road. So I'm done.
I have a couple of things.
Pat?
I have a couple of things that I wanted to do. One was, the awards. You brought it up for the fire. This Saturday night is a dinner, this Saturday morning is a dinner it's a fundraiser put on by the senior center and the Every Child is Ours to help defray the cost of the lunch program debt. I received a phone call from John Bernard. He's coming in next Thursday night for a proposal to ease the parking between Awakening Chiropractic and the senior center. I think it's going to be a win-win for both of us. He's drawing up some plans, and he's going to come in and show us the plans and see if we all agree. Okay. The other thing, employee timesheet, can I just bring that up in non-public? I don't have to do that in public, right? Okay. What was the other thing? Oh, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be, because my memory's not all what it is. The FBI leader program that we were sending our police officers to, I thought that there was no charge to that. I'll ask the chief.
Unless you're going to a conference.
Okay. I know when we host it, there's no charge, but we have 2 officers that are going, and I'm just looking at the visa bills now, and there's lots of charges. That's...
I think we'll reimburse.
Hmm?
Those will reimburse.
They are? Okay. All right, I'm all done.
Peter?
I don't have anything for public.
I know it's still a little bit early out, but on April 9th, it's a Tuesday at 5:30 at the Senior Center up here in Lockmere. We're having the annual Lockmere Village District Water Meeting, and anybody who's a user in Lockmere is cordially invited to attend. That's it for me. Everything else was big covered.
So that would be the town of Tilton.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you're gonna represent.
Blackmere Water District?
Yeah, because we're senior center.
Oh, senior center, yeah.
It's gonna be held at the senior center, yeah.
Yeah, but we're users.
We're a user,
Yes.
the town is.
Okay, so I don't have anything. That's it for Selectmen. We've, I think we should do
Can we
something.
go through Catherine?
I think she,
The only thing I had was Caleb Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No kidding.
So thank you.
yeah.
Hey, I can come up with more, I'll wait.
No, I wasn't saying that.
The next thing is to nominate ex officios and alternates. I think when, I'd like to have everybody say what they'd like to do, and that, so everybody, we have questions.
okay, I thought maybe what I could do is just go through the list of the different committees, and then you could say who, or if you want to do it that way, just who's interested.
It might be shorter if any of us want to give up our current position, since the board hasn't changed, it's the same numbers. Might be easier that way. Shorter. I know that I'd like to stay the same because I'm used to the pattern.
I think one of the things, I've been on the budget committee for many, many years, and I'd like to try something different, or whatever, because I feel I could possibly get a little stagnant on it. So let somebody else have a thing at that, and I'd be willing to do anything, anything else. I'll for that.
Like what?
I'll do any, I think we have many other ones. We can start.
I'm the ex officio in planning, that's the only thing I'm ex officio on, and I'd like to stay there.
No, all due respect, I think it's time for a change in planning.
Why?
Why? Because you only have one more year on the board ostensibly,
That's why I'd like to stay.
and I have always coveted the planning board,
Take it
as
up
you
to
know.
next year.
as you know, and up to even being the alternate ex officio and what have you, and I like planning. I was a planning geek right from the start. That was the first committee I ever went on, and I would like that opportunity to sit in that seat. With no disrespect to you
Oh, I have no
or the job
disrespect.
that you've done.
But I'd like to stay there for the remainder of my year.
I understand that.
Is that a vote you take then, as a committee?
Well, there we have that, right?
That's a vote, right? All right, so John wants to step out of budget, and he wants to take something. We have two people that vie for planning. I have trail, which I have no hang up one, if somebody wants that, that's fine by me, the trail advisory committee, whatever it is. Police liaison, I would like it if somebody really wants that, that's fine. I'll take it. The one thing that I really want is the contract negotiations.
Well, that's
I'd
not
really
it.
like that with Peter.
That's not an ex officio position.
Yeah, sorry.
So was the trail an ex officio?
Yes,
Yes.
Trails ex officio, yeah.
I'll swap that. I'll do that. I'm really thoroughly that's up my alley.
So who's going on budget then?
We haven't decided that yet.
Okay, so do I have at least that Pat's coming off Tilton Trail and,
Does anybody else want trail other than John? So,
I moved John
John.
to be the trail ex officio. I'm gonna make a.
I'll second that one.
okay,
Let's shake it up this year.
do you need to vote on it?
Shake
Yeah,
up chair.
I made a motion.
Second, all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So move.
Okay. One down.
What do you want, Peter?
Parks is fine.
I would make a motion to that effect, to appoint Peter to the Parks Department as ex officio.
Second.
A second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Since we're on parks, you also have a alternate ex officio.
We should have alternates on all the ones we do have ex officios.
In
We don't
theory,
have an
for
alternate
sure.
on the trail.
No.
I mean, I'll nominate Joe for trail for ex officio. I think that.
The alternate position.
Or Pat.
I like the trail. You know, if you guys are up for that, I would be glad to.
Up for that? Aye.
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 We have John Scanlon as ex officio, alternate Joe Jessamine for the Tilton Trail Advisory Committee. So back to Parks Commission. We have Peter Fogg ex officio. Who would like to be the
I
alternate?
would nominate Catherine to that
Okay.
position, if she would accept.
Oh, that's what I am now, it's fine.
And you have quite a history with parks, certainly, and an interest in.
Well, but the fair thing is, if somebody else would like to be, I'm their
Yeah.
secretary, so I'm there anyway.
Yeah. Well, that would give you the authority, if as long as you're gonna go anyway, that if Peter was unable to attend.
Right,
you
but I'm
could
just
slide
saying,
right into that.
it still gives somebody else an opportunity,
Mhm. That's true.
but that's fine.
So we'll go with, so I'll nominate Pat for the police liaison.
So
That's
I just
That's an appointee.
Oh, okay.
I just want to go back to the,
It's not an ex officio.
the Parks Commission, because did we vote on that?
No,
The
I
ex
don't
officio
believe we did.
alternate?
We voted on the ex officio,
but not the
Not on the
alternate.
not the alternate. Okay,
For Parks, isn't that was Kathleen?
And I would vote yes.
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 Okay.
I thought Peter was,
He is the.
He's the ex officio, I'm the alternate.
I thought,
Peter is the ex officio on Parks, and Catherine will be the ex officio alternate. And who made the motion?
We're appointing you guys
Who
up there
made the
too.
motion?
I made the motion to.
Yeah, I ran.
And who
And John
seconded?
seconded it.
Who seconded?
John.
John, okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks.
All right. So Parks is done. And the trail is done. What about zoning?
There is
Zoning
none
is
in
now
zoning.
ex officio on zoning.
No,
Okay.
I know we can, but it's been advised we don't.
I just assumed we didn't because they're a separate,
I
agree.
have,
powerful board.
so I have, so you want to keep Joe on there as the alternate too?
For what?
Your name is on here, so that
For
I'm
what?
Not zoning.
zoning.
No.
I was on zoning at one point, but I left zoning
So I've got
to
this.
take the appointment to
This
the board of
where'd
selectmen.
this document come from?
online,
Cindy.
So this is Cindy. So I'm just looking at the document and trying to update it. So right now, zoning, you are not on as alternate two.
I am on as alternate in planning.
Okay, so I take you off there.
Okay.
All right.
I am currently the chairman of the Green Committee, the Energy and
Well,
Recycling Committee, of which there are no other members. They were defunct, sort of, but I would hate to let it go in case I get somebody that's really interested and I can start having these things again.
Yep.
he's talking two separate things.
Right.
There's a green energy,
Yeah,
there's.
there's green, right.
He's NRRA, John's the green energy.
Okay, so that's the Concord.
No,
No.
No.
no,
You want budget?
I'm the Green Energy
He's
guy.
Green
It used to be
Energy.
the Recycle Committee,
Okay,
and we
but-
changed the name, and I'm that guy.
NRRA.
John's
That's
the
an offshoot of that.
Okay.
energy.
I'll do that.
John was energy with Ashley.
That's right.
And John.
Okay, so
Do alternate.
Jonathan Scanlon, you are on the Energy Committee. Do you want to
Mhm.
stay on the Energy Committee?
I'll do that.
Okay. And Ashley is
Takes so
gone.
much of your time.
Does somebody want to fill that position?
For what?
Energy Committee.
I would be the alternate to that. You
Doesn't
can be the
show it as an
alternate to
alternate,
Green.
but I'll put you down.
We'll work together.
Okay.
All those things are hand in hand.
All right. I was the appointed to the Belknap County Economic Development.
And you shall stay there.
Okay,
I would
My
love that
vote.
to happen.
okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay. Senior Executive Committee?
That's Pat.
So we don't need any.
We don't have one. I'm the chair.
No, she's
All
the
right.
chair of the committee, so we're good.
Lakes Region Mutual,
So, usually an ex officio, well, no, that's just,
No,
never mind, you're
The
good.
chat committee had an ex officio, but there's really not a chat
That was
committee.
me. There's no need for it at this point,
Right.
quite
Oh.
frankly.
Well, it's not, a lot of the work, I shouldn't say it's not active right now, because a lot of the work, we partner
Tran-
with Community Action.
Trans-
Right.
And I acted more of a liaison as opposed to an actual voting member of the
Yeah,
board.
right.
Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, there's no one on that.
Chief Sitar,
That's Chief's.
Okay.
and I was the alternate.
And Catherine's the
You want
alternate.
to remain there, Catherine?
It's fine, he goes to all the meetings and he's never called me and said I can't go.
Okay. All right, so that one's done. Parks Commission,
Why doesn't Conservation have one?
Because we've never assigned one.
Oh, ex officio, they don't
Yeah.
make any decisions.
They
okay.
make lots of decisions.
No, there's no
Police Building Study
Yeah.
Committee.
jurisdiction,
You have authority, the permits that come in.
I would like to,
no need to comment.
if it's the board's wish, I would like to stay on the Police Building Committee.
Oh,
I think we should discuss that
Really?
next week.
Discuss this next week?
The police study committee, because we're going to be giving them a new charge. I mean, I don't have any objections to Pat staying on, I just think it goes with that conversation.
Might be renamed or something.
Or reformed
We'll call it
altogether.
Main Street.
Or reformed altogether?
So you want to put a hold on that?
Some people don't even wanna be
Oh.
on this.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to put a hold on that?
that was still.
The committee exists now,
Yep.
I think we can go ahead and have somebody in there.
What if we decide to reform the committee because other members don't want to be on it?
It could be a whole different change of everything over there.
What do you mean if somebody
What if
doesn't
we
want to be on it?
What if we decide next week not to have a committee and the selectmen take over?
For instance.
What? Really, you would do that?
Why not?
Who's we, the committee?
So we're talking
What
about
if
that
the-
next week.
So this
Hold
is the
on,
Board
one
of
second.
Selectmen's
I don't
decision.
know what
We
it-
could decide next week not to have a committee and take it over ourselves. And I'm just laying out possibilities. You have members, you don't know if they're all going to serve, which is one of the things that we should make certain. We had some great members there.
Well,
So I'm just thinking the whole thing.
I would appoint Pat to be on there until it's abolished or dissolved or changed.
I'd go with that second.
So, nobody would be on it at that point.
If you want to put it that way, I would do that.
So,
I have a
we'll
motion
put
and a
Pat
second.
on
All in
Better write
favor?
down what I
there.
got,
All
because I'm
in
gonna
favor,
forget.
say aye.
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 Okay. Got that. That's for sure. All right, one, yeah,
Budget.
150th Celebration Committee, we have currently Catherine as ex officio with Joe Justman as the alternate.
I motion to keep the same.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
All right, Budget Committee,
I'll make a motion to have Pat do the budget committee.
Second, if you'll accept.
I was gonna say to wait to see what we do with planning, because that would leave a member without being an ex officio, depending on how it goes.
so do you want to take planning up first?
We have a motion on the table.
Okay,
I withdraw my second.
You can withdraw the motion.
all right, so Planning Board. Currently, Catherine is ex officio and the alternate is Joe.
I'd just like to say I'd like to stay there for my remaining year, because I'm an old dog and I haven't been on the budget committee for,
Would you take budget, Catherine?
I would do something, yeah, then that would be budget. Because I'm only ex officio on the planning board. And I haven't been on the budget committee in,
3-4
oh
years.
God, 5 years, 6 years?
It's been a while.
Short spell.
So that would
Well, I
be,
was an official member before I was selected.
yeah, it's quite a while, so that would be a whole lot of studying and by the time I knew what I was doing, it would be over. So that's why I'd rather stay on planning.
I get that, and I want to say something, but I really am trying to find the words to say it in public. And I mean absolutely no disrespect whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I can't, because I'm trying to, there's something that I want to save deeply, and I really think that there are changes that are needed in certain departments. And I think that if we, the board, make changes with absolutely no regards to anyone or anybody, and I think that if we make those changes in a positive manner and we move forward, I think that I think we'll all be in a better place.
So you're suggesting changes in only one position? That's planning, because we really haven't made any changes.
No, it'd be-
Except for you gave up budget.
I didn't give up
and
budget.
trail.
John
Or John
said-
gave up budget and trail, but everything else remained the
It took
same.
trail.
I'm not sure.
So,
We're
everything
not,
else remained the
Is
same.
there a motion to be made?
So,
there's not any, no, Catherine, because I haven't served on budget for,
okay, but, so I just said.
John
everything
has
else
served
remains
on
the
budget for
same.
years and years and
Okay.
years, which would change the
Why do you
momentum.
think I should not be on planning? And I'm a selectman, so it's not a non-public, but if you have an opinion of why I should not be on planning, I would like
Because
to hear it.
the reason why is the other person is not a selectman, and I would really, because the other reasons are personnel reasons, and they are protected under personnel. And they're not for public. And I think we've heard them already.
I haven't heard them.
Okay, so, I get that, and I know that it's disappointing to you, and I get that, I
It's not
totally get
disappointing,
you.
it's just that I'm at the end of I've got 1 year. I don't want to learn a whole new game. I know planning.
But you know budget, you've been a selectman for 20-some odd years.
I haven't been on, I've only
21.
been on budget for a short time in the 20 years, and that was a long time ago. I filled in an opening. And when John came, I was like, yay.
I'd rather see you in as alternate right now. I would not,
I don't want
not,
to serve as alternate.
Well, I'm gonna make the motion for Joe to be on the planning board. We gotta see how this is gonna go. And that's my motion.
I'm a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Joe, is there anything you, is this?
Only that I will do my very best. I have some background in planning, having been on the planning board. I've always coveted that position, and I think I could do a good job. And I think Catherine has done a good job too. But I'm ready to move forward.
I find it interesting, the one person that wants to keep a position, you want to kick her out just because it's her last year.
I don't think that has anything to do with
I think
anything.
something took place before this meeting, but that's okay. But evidently, we can't have the discussion, so it's okay. I get it. I get it.
We've had the discussion already with the person.
I haven't had a discussion with anybody that wanted me off planning. In fact, I've had several members that told me if I left planning, they would too. But no, that's, you know, that's, whatever. Go ahead.
So, all of those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I.
Opposed?
Let the record show.
Let the record show, for what it's worth.
Can't believe it, whatever.
It happens, unfortunately, but that's all right.
I would like to appoint Catherine as ex officio for the alternate ex officio for the reason that.
No, thank you.
To help.
I'm good. I'll free up my Tuesdays.
What was the ex officio for?
Planning.
Planning.
Alternate ex officio?
But
You said ex officio, so I...
Alternate ex officio.
Okay.
So we need to come up with the alternate ex officio.
well, the way we're going, we need to appoint somebody. We have for every other one thus far.
Peter, would you do?
No, thank you.
John, you do it? You have some...
If nobody's going to be the alternate, I would.
I move John as alternate ex officio to planning board. I have no desire to be on the
Well,
planning board.
I'll second it.
No desire.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
I will decline to vote.
Present.
That's not an abstention.
Yep. All right, we have budget committee left.
Do we have any
You know,
volunteers for budget committee?
No, thank you. I already told you I don't want to be in budget.
Here, will you do budget?
Not with my full-time job. I'm not gonna do it justice.
It's a hard job. It definitely is.
To be honest with you, I was just getting, last year, I just noticed I was getting kind of burnt out on it.
And you wonder why I preferred planning.
I didn't want to, just overall the years, I didn't feel like I could give it, as open of mind as I should. So,
I nominate Jeannie.
It doesn't work like that, I don't think.
Tom Damon.
Tim!
No, we need a selectman, so I'm going to nominate Pat for budget.
Walter.
I would second it if she's willing to serve.
Yes, if Pete does alternate.
You do alternate? So, we have Pat as budget, Peter as alternate. I'm going to group it together. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will decline to vote.
So we have 1 aye, 2, 3 ayes, 4 aye,
Present. I don't have a dog in this race.
present.
Okay, that's it for your,
How about Concord Waste?
that,
Oh.
that's Joe.
Well, that's been me for 7 or 8 years. I've worked my way up to the operating committee.
How about
and I'm
LR?
actually
Oh,
the
LR.
secretary of the organization. At this point, we only meet once a year, and it's basically a formality to check on the status of the funds for the cleanup and, you know, how we sit with the EPA and those kind of situations.
How about housing standard? That have an ex officio?
No.
It doesn't.
It just says a select, oh yeah, that's right, it's a selectman appointee.
It's specific to the ordinance.
But do we have to appoint the selectman?
Well, Peter's on it now.
You want it? No, you're not on it.
That's what I have.
Yes, he's on
Either.
it.
But you have,
He
but
is
you have the meetings in the
selectman
afternoon.
representative.
But you have this, you have the meetings in the afternoon. How does he go to those?
That wasn't,
Okay.
the meetings can be anytime.
So is that staying the way it is?
Point of order.
Go ahead.
We kind of glossed over the co-op appointment. I don't think that was
It's still 2020, Joe.
So it's not until next year?
Right.
Right.
Okay then.
2021.
Never mind.
2021.
That's why it was going on.
What else?
There was we have a Main Street committee, and
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and I have been serving as I don't think I was appointed as the ex officio, just as a liaison, bringing back information as I got it and what have you. But there's that position as well, if one of us is
Do
going
you
to.
vote on the committee? Or do you just,
Well, I have been voting on the committee, yeah.
Do we
So
have
isn't
a
it-
membership application approved for you?
Probably. I don't know whether we did or not, whether you actually, I got a thing from Cindy or not.
so who's in there now?
They,
Jules and...
we have a total of 10, and they have to be redone. Then the name has changed. You approved that to Main Street Committee, and she has the application forms that need to be completed by the members and then brought back to you to approve. So when I talked to her the other day, she said she expected, and I can read you off the list of the names of who those people are, she expected them all to re-up.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who they are? Okay, so I have Genevieve Bolia,
Yeah?
Christine Dembitsky,
Yeah?
Dennis Gaudette, Juliette Harvey, Jane Alden, Noel Licata, Sandra Licata, Peter Saliba, Kyla Vienna, and Joe Jesselman.
Kyla Vienna?
Yeah. Jeff's,
They've
Jeff's
just been
daughter.
to see if we actually have
Oh,
applications that have been signed by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, lots of people show up, but there's only certain ones of them that are actually voting members.
so I would suggest that we make it as ex officio then.
The official position, because this could last for multiple years, this committee, and I think it's a good idea that we have a seat at the table, whoever that happens to be.
Is the 150th that's ex
Separate.
officio, correct?
What's that?
The 150th is ex officio?
Yes, Catherine's on that.
Okay.
Temporary committees, we don't usually
Mm.
do that. We just have a selectman there because they dissolve.
Well, we did the 150th committee as ex officio, so we should do the
No, I
meeting.
I wasn't there because I was ex officio. I was there because somebody came up and got me and said, you need to come
I
downstairs
know,
to a
but we
meeting.
put you in as ex officio last year, Catherine, you and Joe.
We did, because if you remember, Catherine, Joe, then if you remember, Joe wanted to join the committee, and it was agreed that he'd be an alternate because you were ex officio.
I want to be in there somewhere.
But when I went to that committee, it wasn't as ex officio. So that whole conversation came afterward, but I think that's how we got Joe on the committee.
So we should probably do the main impression, the main impressions group, first impression, Main Street Committee as an ex officio. That's my opinion.
Do we think it's going to be a long-term committee?
I think that it's going to be
Yeah.
10 years anyway.
Yeah.
If we can
Then it
maintain
should.
the energy, it could even go further than that
Then
and
it should.
expand out into, the hinterland, hopefully.
Then
Yeah.
it should.
And I would move that if you're willing, that you should be that ex officio, Kathy.
No, thank you. It meets during the day most of the time, so I'm
Actually,
being the health officer.
Although we have, we just decided to move our meetings to 6 PM to be more inclusive.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Well, I'm going to continue to go.
All right.
regardless of who else. I wanted, you know, even if I'm not on the committee, I can go and be a member of the public. So if nobody else is willing to do it, I would be doing an official capacity, but
I'd like you to do it if you're not filling your plate too much here.
I do these things now and other things as well. This is kind of like a job, an adventure. I know some other people have JOBs that require they be away in the daytime, but I'm fortunate in that respect in that I can accommodate times often that I can be at these things.
I'll make that motion. Have Joe as ex officio for the Main Street. And a second from somebody?
Second.
All those in favor
Peter
say
did.
aye.
Aye.
I'll decline to vote.
All right, I've got you. Well, I think that's it for the committees.
All that left, I think, are minutes.
In a non-public.
We'll do the minutes real quick here, and then we can do the non-public.
Move the minutes of March 7th to the floor for discussion.
This is not a correction on this, but why wasn't there a presentation on the sewer commission like that was discussed on his minutes?
Well, we started, I think, at 30 minutes, and a day or two before the meeting, we were told we were down to 10. Kind of hard
We
to
couldn't do a proper presentation in the time allotted.
Was it even 10?
Huh?
I don't think we were given 10, were you?
I think we were given 10 minutes for the whole thing.
That was by the moderator.
On page 2 on the Housing Standards Board ordinance public hearings, we're listing the changes, adding a penalty clause. We changed the fine amounts. And then I have a couple of questions, but underneath Selectman Jessamine, the next paragraph down, more discussion of burying wires and pursuing grants. I think we should add on Main Street, so it's more specific, people know.
Yeah, that's true. Was on Main Street.
And then
for sure.
down at the page 2, underneath the Selectman Jessamine, it's just 2 sentences. And then
Yeah, I'm just,
March 7th, right?
yeah.
Page
but-
2.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, more discussion
Oh.
on Main Street.
Then at the very bottom, Selectman Dawson talked about a culvert permit for Bittern Lane. What I talked about was moving forward with the driveway permit and having our Public Works Director check the need for more culverts that need to be replaced. And then that paragraph with Selectman Jessamine, I was thinking we should add more of the discussion, but I guess maybe not, it's kind of
Oh,
redundant.
burying wires?
No, the conversation of changing the name.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah.
Also, in that paragraph, it does say that the motion failed, but it doesn't say that, the amendment failed, but it doesn't say the motion passed. Maybe
Right,
it's
and it
just
was
me, I'm
only-
not seeing that.
Motion passed.
But wasn't
But it
there only
doesn't say
one
that.
motion in that paragraph?
Amendment failed, it says.
The amendment failed, but it doesn't say
3-2.
the motion that I made passed.
Then it says the original motion, Main Street Committee passed.
Where? Wait, wait.
Then-
Right
But there's
under
no
it.
amendment.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, it doesn't say that crap, and I'm just stupid sometimes.
Well,
Well, I must be too.
That original motion passed 4-1, but the amendment failed 3-2.
Okay, so where's the amendment?
it says Selectman Dawson.
It says that, about
says,
changing it to
Selectman
Tilton.
Constantino moved to amend it to the Tilton Main Street Committee. Selectman Dawson seconded. Then you started having some discussion and voted on it. The amendment failed. The original motion passed.
Or what would the original Main Street Committee request?
Okay, I guess I follow it now.
I'm
I'm gonna just close it.
pretty sure that I voted no to the original motion as well. So I didn't agree
I
with
thought-
that either.
The original motion failed,
I know it passed, but there was,
No,
but that's okay.
we became the Main Street Committee.
Did you? Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what you asked for.
But I-
That's what we
voted-
asked for, yeah.
I'll check.
Yeah, they did become the Main Street Committee to what they asked, because I had asked for the Tilton Main Street. That failed. That failed.
Well, right, so
It's correct. Everything.
Tilton Main Street failed, and then they made a motion to go back to the original, which said Main Street Committee, and that passed.
Yeah, it was, I think it was 3-2.
Right.
I'll check.
We got 4-1 here, but either way, it passed. As such, I would make a motion to accept the minutes of Thursday, March 7th, 2019, as corrected, as amended, as changed around.
Motion.
That works?
Seconded by
Second.
John, Catherine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Move the minutes of March 14th to the floor for discussion.
Yeah, we'll second that.
Yep.
On page 3, under discussions followed, Bittern Lane transferring driveway to MB Tractor. We're not transferring the driveway because we don't have a driveway. We have a road.
That's right. Make a motion to accept the minutes of Thursday, March 14th, 2019 as correct.
We have a motion, and somebody wish to second that? I'll second that.
Discussion? I made notes, but I didn't have the written minutes when I made the notes. So on page 3, under discussion followed, select, at the very end, at the Bitter Lane discussion, Selectman Dawson stated the document was not a driveway permit, but access to a town road. So that's not enough information. I mean, you can either leave it out or add the rest of the conversation. And the comment I made was what I made at the beginning of this, that the state happens to use the driveway permit for that function, but it's not a driveway.
So it was a driveway permit, it just doesn't go to a driveway.
Right,
Goes to
and that's
a
what
road.
I was just clarifying
Yeah,
it, but this
yeah.
statement doesn't do it.
No, we
So I would say just leave it out. It's really, it's not necessary,
No.
so just leave it out because you'd have to add more language.
So, your motion is the same, but you accept
All
the same.
encompassing, you bet.
Okay, and that's,
Here.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. The only other thing, before we go to non-public, I do have a donation that we need to make a motion to accept for $75 from the Laconia Indian Historical Association to the Town of Tilton Senior Center. We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Oh, aye. And a thank you.
Opposed? No?
Thank
And
you.
Thank you very much for the donation.
Yep.
And we've gone through all that. I think, is that all the business that we need to take care of, except for our non-public?
Yes.
That's it, that's all. Unless something really odd came up
Right.
during it that we have to announce, but stay tuned. Okay, so we're gonna make a motion that we go into non-public as per RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2, section A, personnel, dismissal, promotion, compensation, public employee, disciplining of such employee, and investigation of any charges against him, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to meeting, and 2, requests the meeting be open, which such case shall be granted. So, roll call vote, and C.
Dino, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Jessamine, yes?
Wow.
Actually, it should be Fogg.
Fog, I guess, because I have no clue what we have a non-public issue, so I have no idea if it is or not. So I guess I'll vote present.
It's a non-public personnel.
Yes, but we've done non-public personnels that shouldn't have been non-public, so until I know the gist of it, I can't tell you. That's all.
Are you a yes, John?
So, Scanlon, yes.
We are red. Red means run. Yes. And I would like to, at this time, make motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to personnel issues permanently. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
They're off. All those in favor?
Aye. Good night.
Opposed?
All right.
That's all.